Here we go!
Welcome to the Nintendo Power Zone. We are a videocast/podcast dedicated to bringing you the best Nintendo-related content. As always, I'm your host, Nice193, and today I'm joined by my co-host, Blues. How's it going today, man?
It's going good. Been a busy day, but a good day.
And they're always busy, aren't they? All right, but on today's show, we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. We're going to start talking about XenoBlade Chronicles 2. Finally, we've both beaten the game, so we're going to semi-deep dive that. It's not going to be this traditional format that we normally do a deep dive in, but there are going to be some major plot spoilers, so if you haven't played that game yet, if you intend to play it, or if you're just not quite beaten it yet, I suggest you make sure you download this episode and come back to it once you beat it, because we are going to spoil stuff, because you can't really talk about that game and not have spoilers.
It's a very story-driven game, yeah. Exactly. It's very hard.
So, you guys have been warned here in the introduction of our show. We'll warn you again when we get to the XenoBlade point. But that's not all we're going to do today. Today we have a lot of awesome news to talk about. Can't wait to dive into the news. But we're also going to do our very own version of the N64 Classic Edition. So, if, Nintendo's been leading us to something, it's the fact that the Classic Edition systems are their hot new items. And every time they release a Classic Edition console, they're hard to find initially, and they're selling like crazy. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up with our own version of the game. And it's not just going to be me and Blues talking about this. The other guys are going to show up on a future episode, and they're going to talk about the games that they want on an N64 Classic Edition. And then when all is said and done, we're going to come up with 15 total games that could be on an N64 Classic Edition. So all that on this awesome episode. We are finally back from our vacation. So it was a long one, but guys, we needed some time off. 2017 was a kick in the balls, and 2018 we needed to just catch our breath. But we're back, and maybe later on we're going to discuss the possibility of doing a bi-weekly show, but we haven't come to that yet. But for right now, let's get into the powered up news, because awesome news. I want to start with the Off the Hook concert that happened this past weekend at the Nico Nico event. So, in keeping with the success of Splatoon 1's holographic concerts, Nintendo decided that they would partner with Nico Nico again to bring us Off the Hook. So, not a whole lot different from the Squid Sisters concerts that they did at, I guess it was 2016's Nico Nico, and they did it again at AnimeCon in France. But this time, now that Splatoon 2 is out, they're talking about showing us Off the Hook. And I don't think they disappointed, man. I thought that was an amazing concert. It was about 35, 40 minutes long. Kicked off really good. I really wish it was subtitled like the last version was. I'm pretty sure they'll release that at a later date on Nintendo's official YouTube channel. But it was a fun concert, man. They played a lot of awesome songs. And I think the choreography of it was really good, and everybody in the crowd was really amped for it. And I really like that Nintendo is not sleeping on Splatoon as a franchise. They are legitimately trying to keep people involved in this franchise, specifically the Japanese community, which has truly embraced Splatoon as a game, and they love Splatoon in Japan. It really speaks to that youth-oriented culture out there. I think the same thing could be said for its fan base around the world. I think they're very forward-thinking, love the styles this game presents, and but that Japanese community really gets involved. Yeah,
the Japanese are by far the biggest, most dedicated fan base for Splatoon, easily, which says something, because I see a lot of hardcore Splatoon fans here, but the Japanese just take it to a whole new level. And that's always crazy to see.
I agree 100%, man. They're killing it, and it makes sense that that's where they're having those concerts in Japan at a festival like the Nico Nico event.
Yeah, you'll get the most turnout and the most positive definitely there. Yeah,
and they definitely got a bigger venue than they got for the Squid Sisters concert. It accommodated a lot more people, and it was just badass to see all those glow sticks going up and down in unison. It was a really fun concert.
I have not seen the Off the Hook. I did see the Squid Sisters. I should probably go back and check Off the Hook, but I'm assuming it's just going to be the same for the most part, like the same idea, same concept as the original Squid Sisters. But I am glad to see that it's continuing tradition. I'm very glad to see that it's even I don't say being embraced more, but Nintendo's made more effort into it this time. You said bigger venue, and pulled out all the stops, so that's really great to see as well.
Yeah, I don't know if that's just the process, a byproduct of Nico Nico's festival being larger every year. It could be, but the venue was a lot bigger, accommodated way more people, and the concert itself was really great. Like, they took those that holographic technology that they used for like Hatsune Miku and the Squid Sisters before, and I didn't really see any definitive improvements. I would say that it was pretty on point. But to be fair, the holograms for Callie and Marie look better than the in-game product. So it was already like a better looking version of the characters, and I think that Pearl and Marina looked really fantastic on stage. They even had Marina with her turntables, which was legitimate because they like did holographic turntables. I was like, no, they didn't. No, they didn't. And she was scratching and shit. I was like, damn. Okay. Anybody who doesn't like Off the Hook better than the Squid Sisters, watch this concert because it was badass. And then they capped it all off with the end of the concert was great because you had all four pop idols on stage together doing they were doing that song that they do whenever there's 1 minute left on the clock in a race match. But it was all four of them, and obviously they.
So Callie, Marie, yeah,
and Marina and Pro. It was great though because like what I liked about it was that like each band is different from like they have their own sounds, but they were able to incorporate their all of that into this. So when Callie and Marie are singing it, they sound like Callie and Marie, and when Marina and Pro are singing it, it sounds like them. And it's just this smorgasbord of these four pop idols on stage together, just doing the thing. It's like, wow, this is great, and it's only a matter of time before a concert like this comes stateside. Especially with Nintendo's like working and dealings with Universal. Like,
very true.
It makes sense now that they're building a theme park to bring that concert to one of the Universal Studios venues. The one here in Florida, which I go to very frequently because I love Universal Studios. There's a big stage there. All they would need to do is transport that projection deck that they use, put it there, put it on the stage, and just have this super fun, badass concert for everyone. And I don't think it would be that big of a deal, like, to get it stateside. I think it's definitely something that they should look more into because it's a priority for the Japanese market. And if you really want to promote Splatoon, like you promote Mario and Zelda and Donkey Kong, this is the best way to do it. You have these four pop idols that transcend the games that they originate from. Not a lot of video game characters are this transcendent. Transcendent this fast. They're not. Like Mario and Link, I mean, they've had the benefit of 30 plus years of building their brand. The same applies for Donkey Kong, Pac-Man, any video game character that is iconic like that. But Callie, Marie, and Pearl could also do that. They are like the perfect avatars to just put out into the world and have those characters resonate with the game outside of the game.
And it's almost kind of funny to think that they're not the main characters of Splatoon, but they're the only characters that aren't generic in a sense. Every other Inkling or animal that's not like owning a shop is just an Inkling. That's the player character. They're not as stand out as Callie, Marie, Marina, and Pearl. And so having an NPC as that character that's resonated, you have Mario, you play as Mario. You have Link, you play as Link. Pac-Man, you play as Pac-Man. You play as an Inkling, and these are NPC story characters. And they're the ones that resonate, which I think is super cool as well.
No, 100% agree. They're the only characters in the game with their own legitimate personalities. you spend more time with them than you do some of the shopkeepers. You turn your game on, there they are talking to you.
Giving you the news updates, yeah.
Exactly. I mean, and when the Splatfest rolls around,
all the commentary, you pick the sides, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. You're representing one of those characters when you play in the Splatfest. There's a whole lot going on with those 4 characters when you start those games.
And going back a bit, sorry, I had to talk about the Resonation, but back to the concerts, it's going to be crazy to think that maybe one day we'll see concerts that not only are stateside, but they'll be entire just Nintendo character concerts. You'll have Pauline on stage with Mario singing Jump Up Superstar, Callie Marie as like the opening acts. And you could have like a whole cast of just holographic Nintendo characters putting on concerts. It's just like a third set of pop idols eventually with Splatoon 3, maybe. Like you're gonna
totally get away with that.
Yeah.
The popularity that Pauline recently picked up off of Super Mario Odyssey, you could totally get away with like a whole, Nintendo pop idol concert right now.
And that would probably fit even better back into going back to Universal Studios, Why just have a Splatoon concert? We could have a Nintendo concert, Like, Nintendo produces a lot of great music. There's orchestra showings for Legend of Zelda, Fire Emblem, because they produce a lot of great music over at Nintendo as well. And it's definitely one of those strong suits.
Recently, just last summer, I went to the Pokemon Symphonic Evolutions.
Yes, Pokemon does it well.
I mean, video game music is popular everywhere. I mean, last weekend, the Final Fantasy concert was here in Tampa. Like, video game music is popular. I think Nintendo has been a little slow to capitalize on it in the worldwide market. I know in Japan, video game music sells. In Japan, they don't have to worry about that. They actually have a deal with Tower Records to release like official Splatoon soundtracks and merchandise and vinyls. Like, it's crazy. Like, how much support Splatoon gets in Japan that we are not seeing here. I know it's the most successful market there, but if you promote the game here like you promote the game there, the crossover appeal, the game has the crossover appeal. I mean, it's already sold like gangbusters here in the States. It did over 1 million copies. I mean, that's a lot for any game, period. So, I mean, you can, and with, well, we're going to talk about this later, with 14.8 million units, sold worldwide. This is one of those games that's an evergreen title. You could definitely, keep getting support for this. Like, it's just like Mario Kart and Smash. Those games will continue to sell with consoles for as long as those consoles exist.
Yes, as well as you're gonna. I've lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. I had it and lost it. But I mean, jumping back off, moving completely off. We're still in Splatoon, but there was some off the hook amiibo announced, right?
Yep, just this morning actually. This morning, I woke up, checked my Twitter feed, and I'm like, "What's happening in the world today?" I'm a little tired, stayed up a little late last night. Woke up, I'm like, "Oh snap!" Yes, first thing that I saw when I woke up, besides my beautiful girlfriend,
this was the first thing I saw as well.
I saw those and I was like, "Holy crap!" Now my fiance is a huge Splatoon fan, huge. So when she saw those, she's like, "We're getting those, right?" I was like, "Yeah, we're getting those. What are you talking about? Of course. Don't ask silly questions. They're awesome.
They look like very nice."
Yes. Unfortunately, Nintendo's playing that game again where they don't tell us what the amiibo functionality is. I'm gonna assume that it's pretty identical to what Callie and Marie did in Splatoon 1, where they play the Splatfest music and they do the individual songs. Which I like that a lot, especially when Splatfest had run its course in the original Splatoon, when Splatfest was done for good. If you wanted to like light up your plaza in Splatfest colors, all you had to do was scan your, Callie and Marie amiibo, and they were on the stages performing. And I'm like, that was the one thing that was sad. After I know Splatfest is not supposed to be a permanent thing, but I actually really like the way the venue looks, the lobby looks. During Splatfest, and even the stages. That's the one thing I wish would carry over with the amiibo functionality, is that you could play in the lighting that you get during Splatfest. I mean, I know that would probably be a bitch to render, so that's why they don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I am kind of hoping, and I know this is a long shot, but I'm hoping that we see these amiibo unlock the Shifty Station for local play.
I was gonna say,
if you're playing locally with a group of people, you scan that amiibo and Shifty Station unlocks, because I really enjoy Shifty Station, and I know it's different every time.
Yeah, but you can get multiple configurations in through the amiibo. It's just going to be different every time you play.
Like I would love that. Outside of that, the amiibo themselves look really, really good. I thought the Callie and Marie were the best amiibos for Splatoon to date. These look just as good. I love the ink splashing up. Just very awesome. I'm gonna take a look at these.
I don't like how it is on Pearls though. Pearls, because her feet are standing in the ink, and it doesn't look like she has some support for her feet, and that's been bugging me about that though. Yeah,
it's because she's got that like bow-legged stance. Like she has in the game. But I really do like these. Like I love the detail on Marina's tentacles. It's got like the suction. On.
It's also the first Stocktarian amiibo we've had so far.
That's very true. Very true. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, I think these look fantastic, man. Like, and I love, just like Callie and Marie, they've got like the splashes of ink. Like, I'm like, love it. These are gonna go great. If you have all the other Splatoon amiibo, and I have every single one, if you have all of these, on your display shelf, you've got an awesome set of amiibo. So this is going to be released as a 2-pack here in the States. It's going to retail at $24.99. Same price as the Callie and Marie. I don't think we got those as individuals here. I think they only released them as a 2-pack. Of the regions got them individually. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I mean, if you're going to buy them both anyway, you're saving a couple bucks on the back end. So really like these amiibo.
Definitely. And going back to the functionality, I think we also will get the ability to take pictures, the ability to store gear and whatnot as well. That's probably another feature as well. So I think the Splatfest music and settings will be there.
Oh, you'll probably have the ability to take the squid selfies again, like you do with the Callie and Marie.
Yes.
Wish they actually unlocked their own story mode.
That would be cool. But that's unlocking content behind an amiibo wall, which they tried to ditch. They are very against that now, I believe, as the transition to 2. Because, like, even though it wasn't much of a barrier in the first game to get, like, the hero rollers and whatnot, it still kind of was, like, in order to get it, you did have to get the amiibo, which a lot of people complained about.
Still, I mean, there was... If you had the amiibo for the first game, like, you actually basically unlocked, like, an additional 4 hours of gameplay as far as the single-player is concerned, which I appreciated, and I was kind of sad that didn't come back in Splatoon 2. I would like to see some of these amiibo have some content. Like I know a lot of people get mad at paywalls. This is like a physical loot box. You've been paying for loot boxes for years. Like, let's be honest, people. We've been paying for loot boxes for years. It's not going to change just because we change the appearance of a loot box. And
and as
you don't have to get it if you don't want.
And as an amiibo collector, it's frustrating to me in a sense to not see them do more content with the amiibos, but they can't put more content because it's considered a paywall, and it's a very chicken egg problem. And so owning an amiibo, it ends up being kind of hurtful to me, spending money on them because they can't put more content because people get hurt if they don't buy the amiibos, and it's a very chicken egg problem, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. But as an amiibo collector, I'm going to keep collecting. I'm definitely keeping these on my shelf. I think I'm only missing Inkling Girl from the first set for some weird reason. She's the only one I'm missing right now. But I have all the rest.
All the Splatoon amiibos I bought the packs for, so I got the 3 packs for every one of them. I even bought the color variants because it came with a brown squid boy. Yeah. I was like, that's Puerto Rican squid boy.
Yeah.
All right. So moving on, Nintendo recently had their investors meeting a couple weeks ago. Some cool news came out of that. It was almost like a mini direct in itself. The way it was like a Twitter direct, like Nintendo was just feeding us information via Twitter. I think some of the biggest news to come out of that was that the Nintendo Switch sold 14.8 million units in 9 months, basically surpassing the Wii U's 5-year lifespan. Yeah. So it took the Wii U 5 years to sell something like 13.7 million Wii U's.
In less than a year, the Switch has blown that out of the water.
Yeah, that's just fantastic news. Like, it goes to show that people were craving something different, not just from Nintendo, but from console makers in general. They wanted and needed a new experience, and the Switch does that for them. Now, I don't think it hurts the fact that Nintendo has always been able to make a damn good handheld. Even the 3DS, which got off to a slow start, is a fantastic handheld for its time. Now it's a little dated because it's like 7 years old, but the 3DS is a really, for when it came out, it was a very powerful handheld with the ability to output, 3D without glasses. Like, now granted, we don't use the 3D in most games anymore. Like, newer games tend to shy away from the 3D and use that extra power just for processing and making the games look better. That being said, though, I do love me a 3D game. But yes, the 3DS was powerful at the time, especially for a handheld. And now we're in this era where Nintendo has figured out a way to take a handheld and make it a console. So it was a safe bet for Nintendo. Like, I've heard a lot of people saying like this was a risk to combine your console and your handheld platform, and I'm like, no, false, not true.
It's the safest play they could have made.
It is exactly that. Nintendo portables have sold like gangbusters always. Going back to the Game Boy Advance, the Game Boy Color, the Game Boy, the DS, the 3DS, their handhelds have never had a problem selling units.
It's I think the worst handheld they've ever made was the 3DS, and that's still a great selling console. It just got a slow start, and that's probably their worst selling one. Am I wrong? Like, the 3DS is everywhere, but just it's their worst selling, I'd assume.
I think the Game Boy Advance might actually take that, but the Game Boy Advance has the shortest lifespan of all their handhelds, because the Game Boy Advance was released in 2001. It was virtually retired in 2004 after the release of the DS.
That makes sense.
Especially when you consider the fact that the Game Boy's lifespan was from literally 1989 till 2003-4, like that, or 2001. That is the 11 years. The Game Boy lived for 11 years. And when it was dying, when people were like, why do I own this still? Why do I still have this? Pokemon came out. And completely revitalized the system as a whole. Like, it's so easy to overlook how successful Nintendo's handhelds are, especially in the bad years. When Nintendo's home consoles are faltering, their handheld consoles are keeping them afloat. During the GameCube era, Game Boy Advance was holding Nintendo afloat. During the Wii U era, the 3DS kept Nintendo's necks above water, and all the money they made from the Wii before it. Like, so for them to take this handheld concept and say it's a console, but it's a handheld at the same time, safest route Nintendo could have taken.
Because the Nintendo handheld always does well, so you're essentially guaranteeing that your home console will do well. There's no loss.
Well, and then there's the fact that the majority of people, according to an official Nintendo survey, actually play the Switch handheld.
Mostly handheld, yes. Which just goes to show that there's a reason why it's handheld. They knew that people love handheld mobile Nintendo, and that's their strong suit is mobile systems.
And they're doing a good job. Now, I do have a couple of criticisms with the Switch as a whole. even though it is a handheld, I would say that the majority of the games that actually come out for the system don't actually make for great handheld experiences, but they do make for good portable experiences.
Yes.
Like if you watch the newest episode of Wild Odyssey, I talk about how Mario Odyssey is virtually unplayable as a handheld game. But I make the point that as a portable game, it's fantastic because if you have an opportunity to plop it into tabletop mode and take the Joy-Cons out and use the Joy-Cons individually, it's a one-for-one experience as what you could have if you were sitting on the couch and playing with the Joy-Cons the way Nintendo recommends that you play Mario Odyssey. Like, they really want you to play Mario Odyssey with the detached Joy-Cons. So, when you're playing that game in tabletop mode portably, you're not losing anything in the experience. It's only when the Joy-Cons are attached to the console that you lose that experience. Now, that being said, I think we can take this away from Nintendo. We can stop saying that they make the best handheld console and not say they make the best portable console, because to call the Switch a handheld console sort of downplays it. It is a portable console.
That makes sense. I'll agree, because it's my favorite way to think of it is, RPGs are experiences that you want to immerse yourself in, play for long periods of time. But then being tethered to a TV in your living room doesn't help RPGs. RPGs benefit from being able to be portable. And so you can have a grand experience on your TV playing Skyrim, but you got to go take the kids to the soccer game or whatever. You can take your Switch with you and play a bit of Skyrim while watching their soccer game or whatever, and it's fine, because you're not losing that much time. You can keep the experience going. It doesn't matter at all that you were once tethered to the TV, and that experience doesn't have to end or doesn't have to die now that you gotta take the kids to the soccer game. And that's great, because RPGs definitely need that experience. It's fantastic. It just really goes to show the difference between the portable, because portable, it's just extending that experience on the go, whereas mobile, it's mobile. It's you fit it in your pocket, you just play it entirely, on the subway or at your desk behind the school. I don't know, under your desk at class. That's what I'm trying to say here. It's kind of a clear difference. So glad you made that point.
All right, so that wasn't the only news that came out of that investors meeting, though. There was a couple other big pieces of news, but I think the most important one, and the one that we're probably going to dedicate the rest of the time that we're talking about news, is Nintendo actually came up with a banger and said that Mario Kart is going to be released on mobile devices. So your iPhones, your Android devices, your tablets are all going to have access to a version of a Mario game, and the game is going to be called Mario Kart Tour. A couple of other pieces of information came out a week after the announcement, was that the game is going to be free to start. For those unfamiliar, the free to start model is the same as the model they use for Super Mario Run. They're going to give you a little bit of content at the beginning, and then they're going to lock the rest of the game behind a paywall. Now, I want to talk about something real quick, because when Super Mario Run got announced, the price point they announced it at was $10. I 100%. Before they announced the price point, I said $10 would be the price. I was 100% right. I think $10 is a fair price for a Nintendo quality handheld or a Nintendo quality mobile game. The problem is that mobile consumers are not designed to spend large, and I use air quotes when I say large, amounts of money at once. They want to spend $1 here, $1 there. Ultimately, they will spend more money by paying $1 here and $1 there than they would if you just ask them for the money up front. It's a very backwards mentality, in my opinion, but that's the way that the mobile space works. So I think Nintendo is going to have to price this game a lot more aggressively than they priced Super Mario Run. It looks like the cap that most people wanted to pay was $5. I don't know how expansive this Mario Kart game is going to be, but whatever amount of work they're going to put into it, they have to make sure that initial entry point does not cost more than $5, because that's the price point that people want to pay.
So,
Any thoughts?
yes, you've been calling this a Mario Kart game. As far as what I've seen, they didn't ever say it was a game. They've called it a mobile app, correct? They've called Fire Emblem a game. They've called Super Mario Run a game. They called Miitomo a mobile app, which leads me to believe that it's not a Mario Kart game. I would like it to be a Mario Kart game, but it seems like they've made a clear distinction that it's not a game, it's an app. Am I wrong, or have they? Are you fact checking or no? No.
I am fact checking as of right now.
Okay. So I believe they've only referred to it as a Mario Kart mobile app. Which gets me thinking maybe it's like a management system you can manage from your Switch on the go or something, which it's the Switch, so I don't know why, but it maybe bet on races, like there was betting in Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS, but it seemed weird to me that they called it an app. I would love it to be. It also seems weird that an app would have a mobile paywall, free to start, as you said. But it seems weird that they've called it an app. That's the big thing that's bugging me about it. So it could be a management system. It could be extra content accessible from your phone, like I said, gambling or something. I don't know. I would like to have some like full Mario Kart game on mobile, because Mario Kart's a huge seller. It's not only a huge seller; it is, great mobile experience. Look at Mario Kart 7. Look at DX. It does really well on mobile, Game Boy, even DS.
Every article I'm finding has called it a game.
But what about the official?
I'm going to Nintendo's Twitter right now. I'm going to fact check that. Nintendo of America.
Because I believe it was referred to as a game or an app by Nintendo. And that, I thought, bugged me.
Just pulling up their app.
Alright.
Okay. It's got a very distinct... There it is.
Yes, okay.
Alright.
So Mario Kart Tour is?
They're calling it official... Okay, so the official tweet was, the checkered flag has been raised and the finish line is near. A new mobile application is now in development. Mario Kart Tour releasing fiscal year of March 2019. So basically they're saying it can come out anywhere between April of this year till March of next year.
Yeah. But maybe it might have something to do with Mario Kart 9, if that would ever be a thing. Because there isn't an official... It might not be an official... You have 8 Deluxe, which is a port of an existing Mario Kart. There isn't an official Switch version of Mario Kart, which could be something, maybe if it is an application, it might tie into Mario Kart 9 being a thing. Maybe the gambling is more of a Mario Kart 9 thing. I don't know. Or just management, like something.
Sort of like a kart customization
yes.
aspect to it. I think they have a lot of opportunities with this. If it's a game,
so as well.
If it's a game, then it has to be simple enough, to exist on a mobile device.
They've been going with a one-handed approach for a lot of their mobile games or mobile phone games.
I mean, I don't mind a two-handed experience, especially not for a Mario Kart game.
No.
Honestly, the best bet would be for Nintendo to just do what we all want them to do and come out with like a phone peripheral of their own with buttons, with some actual tactile buttons, so that we could actually play. That would be my best, the best thing ever for me. I was like, hey, we're releasing this little configuration that you attach to the bottom of your phone, and you can now play a legitimate Mario Kart game on your phone.
I think that'd be nice for a lot of other games. If they made it from just Nintendo-based games, you could play Mario Kart, not Mario Kart, but like Zelda with buttons, because we've had mentions that there might be a Zelda mobile game. Maybe a Zelda mobile game might use buttons on a peripheral. That might be nice, yeah. Zelda, potentially, what else could they have done? Another Mario game, maybe a 3D Mario game this time. But buttons would be nice for these things, because I don't like the tappies on the touch screenies.
Oh, don't it? Here's the problem, though. The second Nintendo comes out with any kind of
peripheral,
they're gonna get sued. They're gonna get sued.
Yeah.
You stole our idea. All right,
yeah. And this is kind of a iffy territory as well for that stuff. There's a lot of mobile phone peripherals and controller peripherals. Yeah.
if it's a game, there are a couple things that I think Nintendo has 100% has to have available. First off, learn from the mistake that Niantic made.
Definitely, yes.
Mario Kart is all about the community that plays it.
Yeah.
All about the online. Online needs to be accessible immediately once you hit that paywall. Once you've made that purchase, there should be an online aspect to the game right off the bat. The character roster could it's not as important. You could literally have 10, 15 characters.
As long as I get Queen Bee from Galaxy and Wiggler, I am fine.
Like, you don't have to go all out with the character roster, especially not on a free-to-start game.
Yeah.
But I definitely have to see an online component to this game once the paywall's been broken. Once you've paid, you should be able to race online. It would be nice if there was a local, local mode and a worldwide mode. Hey, I'm going to play with the 10 people standing next to me, or I'm going to just play 10 people across the globe.
Yeah, definitely. That'd be nice as well.
I would be remiss in saying that they need a battle mode. They need a functioning battle mode because, let's be honest, Mario Kart is really all about that battle mode. And just some interesting courses, man. Like, of course, get some of your throwback courses, like
Donut Plains,
or Moo Meadows.
Yeah.
Coconut Mall. Can we get Coconut Mall?
Coconut Mall. Oh, yeah. I would love that.
Get your throwback stages in there, but also don't be scared to add some legitimately new courses that we've never seen before.
Yeah.
So I think those are the things that Nintendo needs to address. If this is a game, if this is an application, let me go back one step. If it's a game, I would also like to see some functionality with the hypothetical Mario Kart 9. If there is a Mario Kart 9, I would like to see this connect to that in some capacity. Maybe unlocking carts in the mobile game could be transferred to the Switch version of the game via your and using your My Nintendo account. Log in your My Nintendo account on the app. Obviously, you're logged into your My Nintendo account on the Switch. Any cart you unlock will be transferable to the Switch edition of Mario Kart 9, hypothetically. Now, if this is an application, I want the same functionality. If I am building and customizing carts in the app, I want those carts playable in Mario Kart 9, the hypothetical Mario Kart 9.
Yes.
So, I would like to see all those things.
And I like that you mentioned that, because isn't the Animal Crossing Mobile Pocket Camp supposed to function with a future Animal Crossing game? Am I correct?
Yes, that was a little bit of leaked information saying that it would. Nintendo hasn't officially confirmed that yet, but
okay. I wasn't sure. I just heard that floating around, so I wasn't sure if that was.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I mean it came from some kind of copyright patent for Animal Crossing. So, which most of the time these copyright things. I mean, sometimes Nintendo files copyrights just to secure the copyright or the patent. Other times they legitimately turn it to something that is viable and accessible to the larger community. That being said, though, it is interesting that they chose Mario Kart there's a lot of franchises that have yet to receive love in the mobile space.
Yes.
And there's one game that you briefly touched on.
Zelda?
Yes, they haven't talked about it. We know it's coming.
It was confirmed a while ago. We got Miitomo, and then we were told about Mario Run would be a thing, an Animal Crossing game would happen, and a Zelda game would happen in the future. And then Fire Emblem came out of the blue, and then we got Animal Crossing, and we've gotten notice of a Mario Kart, and there's still, that's it, I believe, correct?
Yeah, we haven't heard anything about Zelda in the mobile space, period. I would have to imagine that a Zelda mobile game probably has some work to do, simply because what's our last Zelda experience?
Breath of the Wild. It's got to live up, And I almost want to say it should be.
To go back.
Yeah, I almost want to say that if you're going to make a mobile Zelda, it has to be top-down style, like the older games. Because I don't see it working in either way.
100% would appreciate that. My second favorite Zelda game is A Link Between Worlds. That's That's also a top-down Zelda game. I'm hoping that it's something akin to that. Something like A Link Between Worlds. That game is actually really fantastic. So I don't know. I know there's some work to be done, but my concern is like, can we go back to a more traditional Zelda formula after the experience that Breath of the Wild has brought to us?
That is something that's been on my mind. The future of Zelda after this Breath of the Wild is hard to think about.
Now I know that
what do they do?
I know that she said that the main series would in fact be open air from this point forward.
Yes.
But these side games, I don't think they have to be. But you also have to make them interesting enough that people want to play it. You know what I'd be 100% down for? I would be 100% down if Nintendo took that tech demo that they had of Breath of the Wild and put that on mobile.
You mean the one of Breath of the Wild? Okay, I thought you were going to say way back in the Wii U, that video they showed, like at the demoing of the Wii U. Okay, tech
demo they have that was of like 8-bit Zelda or 8-bit Link running around, and he was dressed in the blue, and it was literally like them testing out the mechanics of Breath of the Wild to see if they could do these things. So they basically said, "Hey, we have these 2D Zelda assets," which they never said what those assets were originally for.
Yes.
Like in my mind, I was like, "Oh, they were making a Zelda game. They were going to do like a Mario Maker game, but with Zelda." That's what they had those assets for. That game never came to fruition. Basically, they said, "Okay, well, we're not going to make this game after all. What we're going to do is we could take these assets and try to apply the mechanics that we're thinking about." I would love to see that tech demo as a mobile game, because that would be cool.
Yes,
because it would be Breath of the Wild, but it would be Breath of the Wild like Pocket Edition, which isn't it's not too dissimilar from what Square Enix just did recently with Final Fantasy 15 Pocket Edition. Totally get away with that. But yeah, man, Mario Kart Tour, love this idea. Whatever form it takes, I have this feeling that Nintendo's just gonna make this game, whatever it is, it's gonna be a lot of fun, and I'm excited to see what it is. Unfortunately, we have potentially a long wait. We might be waiting a whole year before we actually see this. The only thing I don't want to see with this game, I don't want to see Apple exclusivity again.
Yes.
I don't have any ill will towards Apple iPhones or anything like that, but I'm an Android user. And
it's a kick in the face to Android users.
It was a long wait, and not only was it a long wait, but you released Mario Run the same month you released the Nintendo Switch. They were a week apart. They were literally like a week apart. 7 days. I was like, well, guess which game I'm not playing for a while.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to be playing Breath of the Wild. All right. No, but that's it. That is the news. So we had a lot of awesome news. Just to recap, we talked about the Off the Hook concert, the Off the Hook amiibos. We talked about the Mario Kart Tour and the rest of the Nintendo investors meeting, in which they gave us the fact that Nintendo sold 14.8 million Nintendo Switches in 9 months, and that number is only going to get bigger.
Now, I'm just going to mention these two other news that were... So there's My Nintendo accounts. You'll be able to get software from for the Switch soon. I believe it said March, and that was a thing that was confirmed, as well as Labo is a thing that has been revealed. It's looking interesting. I like the cardboard idea, but we're not going to say any more on that. Correct? We're out of time for news.
No, let's briefly talk about Labo just for let's give it 5 minutes.
All right, sure thing.
Labo is. I am of a certain mind on Labo. I think that Labo is a fantastic idea. I think it's brilliant. It teaches children slight engineering. It's got this great aspect of like work and play attached to it, and I think that Labo is a great educational tool. So when I was in middle school and in high school, I had this class called Tech Ed, which basically taught me how engineering worked. So I built bridges out of balsa wood, or I learned how to build the space station, and like what systems needed to be where in order for people to go up into space and live on a space station. I learned all this cool stuff. And there was this interactive aspect of that class that really expanded my mind. Like I was building, and I was learning while I was building, but I was also having a really good time.
Yes.
Labo works in very much the same way, in my opinion. And you could literally take Nintendo Switches, put them in a classroom, and teach little aspects of engineering and programming, because there's a programming aspect to Labo, and you can use it as an educational tool. And I ultimately think that's what Nintendo's goal is. They want to find a way to enter the edutainment market with this, and I think it's a really good idea. The cardboard aspect is nice. I don't even think the price point is ridiculous. I think the price point is actually fair, considering that it's software included with the packages. And there are so many cool things that you can build with it. This is a great concept. Is it for me? No, because I'm an adult man in my 30s. This is not for me. Would I give this to my niece? Yeah, I definitely would. I would buy this as a present for my niece and build it with her, or have, my brother and her build it together, and just watch her mind expand, because that's what this is. This is something that will help a child's mind expand. And they're going to learn, they're going to learn how to follow instructions. They're going to learn patience, because apparently some of these things could take a couple hours to build. The robot backpack supposedly takes 2 hours to build. But yeah, it's definitely an edutainment toy. And I use the word toy because that's what this is. It's a toy. It's a toy that uses your Nintendo Switch, but it's a brilliant concept. I love this idea. And I don't like the fact that I've heard a lot of complaints about it, like, this isn't for me. No, not everything is for you.
You don't have to cater specifically to you.
Exactly, like that sense of entitlement where everything has to be for everyone. I'm not a huge fan of that. Like, some things are just for some people. Yeah. And this is definitely for somebody who is really young at heart. Like, let's say you're an adult, but you love Legos. Yeah, this is probably something for you. And there's nothing wrong with being an adult who loves it. I'm an adult who collects Mario. So there's always this aspect of us, this childhood aspect of us that we don't and shouldn't kill.
Yes.
And if this is something like that for you, 100% do it. Is this something like that for me? No, because I have other outlets to create, express my creativity, such as this podcast and other musical musical things that I do. I have other aspects in which to express my creativity. But hey, if this is something that will expand your creativity, then yeah, this is definitely for you, and this is definitely for children. So I think people need to get off that this isn't for me, because yeah, it's not for you. It's for everyone else that's not you.
Yeah, and I want to touch on something else and go back to that, is that you can color and put stickers on your Labo cardboard projects, and that's awesome, because I could be putting polka dots on my fishing pole or my keyboard, and then my friend at school, he walks in the playground with his keyboard in stripes instead of polka dots, and I'm like, whoa, I never thought to do stripes, I only did polka dots. And his Labo cardboard products are not the same as mine. You can customize them, you can redo them. That's really cool. There's going to be a lot of people who are not sure who are going to take this too far and completely blow up all cardboard and just make it super crazy. It's going to happen. People are going to get cardboard, make super fishing poles that do crazy things. They're going to mod the heck out of this, which I love. There's going to be super great art that's going to be drawn on Labo. But then also, it's the thing. I'm an adult. I am more of a kid at heart, I would say. I am younger, so I can get away with it. But I think you're never too old to learn. And as myself, I know that I'm not someone who learned a lot of engineering in most of my school. And I'm in college right now. I'm not going into a lot of engineering classes. I don't think I'm taking a single one throughout the course of my major. And I'm not learning any engineering, but I am more than happy to learn a little bit, to learn how things work, how things are made, how things are built. And if I can play Labo, have a fun time learning just a little bit of engineering here and there, I think it'd be a lot of fun for me to get Labo. I will definitely give it a try. If I can charge up the money, I don't think the price point is too high either. I think you're getting a lot of stuff in the multi-pack with a lot of creations, and the robot looks like it's almost a full-fledged game that you just build a robot suit for. From what we've seen of it, so I'm not not disappointed. I'm not upset about the price point. I think it's a fair price point as well.
You know what I would really like to see with Labo? I would like to see other internal Nintendo development teams come up with their own Labo projects. Like, I would like to see maybe like the Pokemon Company doing something with Labo, where like you build like a cardboard Pikachu.
No. Hear me out here. Hear me out here. You're gonna, like there's fishing in Pokemon. You can just fish with the fishing pole in Pokemon. You have the Labo accessory. You can fish in Pokemon with that cardboard fishing pole.
It would be really interesting to see what they choose to do with Labo as a whole. I think I think it's a fantastic concept.
One thing that I think
it really, this is like their new Amiibo, but with like the same way that Amiibo appeals to collectors and children and the young at heart, Labo has the same, and it costs Nintendo a hell of a lot less. What's the production cost on cardboard? It's got to be really low.
Yes, and speaking of just like other people creating things for Labo, I think it'd be very nice if we got a creator tool of some kind for Labo, where I'm running a classroom that we're going to be instructing with Nintendo Labo, but I need to make my own customized Labo game or Labo app or something to showcase what I really need.
There is a function of Labo that does have like a free mode where you can like
create your own
programs and whatnot. I don't know how that applies to the builder aspect of Labo, but there is definitely, and I've heard this confirmed from multiple sources, there is definitely a programming aspect to Labo in which you program your own inventions.
Well, not just the inventions, but like, I'm sure Nintendo's preloaded the software with specific things, but maybe none of it relates to what I'm teaching in my classroom as a teacher, let's say. And I'm able to create my own Labo game, but there's no way for Nintendo to really publish a game I made. But if I could, get my Labo game onto the Switch without having to mod my Labos or jailbreak them in some fashion, hack them, find the root kernel, whatever, I don't want to put up with that time and patience for classrooms worth of Labo. I just want to pop my game cartridge in and have my students learn with their cardboard. And so I feel like that should be something that somehow finds its way in a somewhat accessible fashion, other than modding and going through hacking the Switch. I don't think that should be a thing for this education. What'd you call it? Edutainment? Yeah, edutainment. Yes. I think it should be much more accessible to anyone who wants to teach with Labo.
That's true. I think the only thing that I have, I'm a little concerned about how Nintendo's positioning Labo. I think that's the real issue I have. Nintendo's had this like habit of releasing tidbits of information via Twitter. I would have liked to have seen this incorporated into the larger Nintendo Direct.
Yes.
Just because I think had they done it in the Direct, the backlash that Labo received might have been minimized.
Yes, I think so as well.
Labo was shown off standalone. I think that's where a lot of the skepticism came from, because people's memories are really short. Because again, like I was saying earlier, it was like this is not for me mentality. Well, a week ago they had a Direct that was geared specifically at you. So had they done it as one larger, as they could have ended the Direct. I would have preferred them to end the Direct on Labo than on the Dark Souls
weird teaser.
The weird teaser that they had.
And I almost like that whole after post Direct portion of that month was weird. It felt like Nintendo's just not coordinating anything. Like, okay, so we've just finished the Direct, but now we are ready to reveal that we have Detective Pikachu now. So we're just gonna make a little Twitter post about that, because that we forgot to do Detective Pikachu. We didn't think that was ready. We weren't coordinated properly, but now Detective Pikachu's ready.
I can't understand why for Detective Pikachu, because the whole Direct was really Switch focused.
Yeah,
but Labo is for Switch, and that's why I found the Labo announcement to be just the timing was wrong.
I just felt like they forgot things, or things weren't ready, and then as soon as they were ready, they put them on Twitter or something. It felt weird. They've miscoordinated a lot of stuff, and I understand the 3 Detective Pikachu as well, but I think we had the discussion already where it's they mentioned I don't remember what it was, but some kind of demo you could play. I think it was Kirby demo for 3DS, and it's like that plug felt super weird, and I didn't like that. It felt like you could at least then clump in Detective Pikachu with that. I don't know.
Well, it might just be something to do with how the Pokemon Company chooses to market their games.
Most likely.
Because technically, as much as Nintendo owns Pokemon, the Pokemon Company owns an equal portion to that.
Well, Nintendo is the Pokemon Company. It's just Game Freak and Creatures and Nintendo own all of Pokemon Company as its own entity as well. It's weird. But,
right.
But that should be it for the news, correct? Power Up News is now done. Mm-hmm.
So, I want to bring back this segment because it's been a little while since we had this segment. It's very brief. What are we playing? That's right. It's the long return of this, and man, what haven't I been playing? So I've recently got very back into Splatoon. I took about 2 months off. But I've gotten back into Splatoon again, and I like the fact that Arawanamal is back. I'm still enjoying Clan Blitz. Some of the newer weapons that are coming out, like the GooTuber is back out, like 50 different versions of the Rapid Blaster are out. There's a whole lot of new content in Splatoon, and we just got a Splatfest announced, so really happy to be
Money
playing.
and Love, I believe, correct?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with money on this one because love don't pay the bills.
I mean, fair enough, but money will win because a lot of people are paying money. Money will win. It's gonna be very, very bad social commentary. That's my only fear.
So yeah, ARMS had an update too. I've been playing a little bit of ARMS. We got the new badges, tournament mode, the gallery. A lot of cool new features for ARMS. But I think the game that consumed the majority of my time throughout the months of December and January was XenoBlade. Spent about 113 hours playing XenoBlade before I completed it. I did have this mishap where I accidentally lost 11 hours of the game.
Oh.
Because the damn game doesn't autosave unless you resonate with a core.
Yeah.
I was the only reason I didn't take the game to GameStop after that incident was the fact that I had severe insomnia for about a week and a half. So because I could not sleep,
you just need something to do.
I was like, I can't sleep, and it was bad. Like, I'm talking like severe insomnia where I didn't sleep for a week and a half. So I was like,
jeez.
If it wasn't for this insomnia, this game would be traded in. And
good.
Look, I don't hate the game. I love the game. I 100% love this game. But
that's just frustrating progress loss, though.
When you lose
11 hours of progress.
Exactly. In an RPG. In an RPG where you have to rewatch cutscenes that you've already seen, and Xenoblade has like some 20 to 30 minute cutscenes.
It's not fun, no.
Yeah. I was having Metal Gear Solid flashbacks. I was like, oh god, this game. But yeah, the severe insomnia. So I've been playing that, and Pokemon Gold. I've been playing a lot of Pokemon Gold lately on that I downloaded from the eShop. That's pretty much been it. Just had a lot of me time while we were on vacation. So played a lot of games.
So ARMS is always a thing I'm always playing. ARMS, I'm not sure if I mentioned it here on the podcast, but ARMS is my favorite experience on the Switch. I love ARMS. I spend way too much time on ARMS. So I've been consistently always playing ARMS. But as of, I guess it's been 2 nights now. I've lost track since I've been playing it a lot. But I started streaming Dragon Quest Builders, which came out the Friday of whenever we're recording this. I picked it up, played it on stream for 3 hours. Did not want to stop playing despite being on stream for 3 hours. So I created a new save, and then probably 20 hours in said new save, and my own town is like, oh, I'm scared to go back to my stream save because like everything in the stream is just made of dirt and garbage buildings, and I like I've remodeled everything. And it's like it's so nice now. Why would I go back? So I've spent Dragon Quest Builders is great. It's way more fun than I even thought it would be. I love it. So a lot of ARMS, a lot of Dragon Quest. I've been playing a decent bit of Mario Kart as well. I did a test stream before Dragon Quest Builders for Mario Kart, but I've been playing Mario Kart just like with friends. A lot more of my friends have been getting into it again. So I've been playing a lot more Mario Kart with friends. So Mario Kart, ARMS, and Dragon Quest Builders, I guess, have been what I've been playing. Yeah.
Alright, so definitely got a full roster of games that we've been playing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm happy to bring this section back because it's something, it's always cool to let people know, like, what's on my console, virtually constantly. Been doing a lot of that. But guys, what we're going to do now is we're going to move into a fun little game that I cooked up. So, let's go ahead and slide into that. So, in 2016 and 2017, Nintendo released the NES Classic and the Super NES Classic editions respectively, and that has led us to believe that in 2018, Nintendo will continue to ride the nostalgia train and release the N64 Classic Edition. Today, we have brought with us a list of 15 N64 titles that we believe should be in Nintendo's 64-bit mini console. What we're going to do is, we're going to read off our list, right? And if any of us have a game that matches the other, that game is automatically included in the list. But you don't just get to say which game you want to add to the system. You have to give a legitimate reason why. So, with that being said, Brennan, hit me up with your first of your 15.
They're not in order. Well, I have an order that's kind of hierarchical, but not really. I'd actually go pretty much mostly. It's kind of at the bottom, not really. That's one bit. Animal Crossing, which was only released in Japan on the N64. But there was an N64 version of Animal Crossing, and my biggest reason for having Animal Crossing is not only because it was a mixed experience on the N64 to a lot of people who weren't importing the Japanese version that they mostly couldn't understand. It's because like a lot of my past experiences with friends and whatnot in having the NES Mini and the Super NES Mini, as they sort of played all the games and then they just sold it to a friend or something, and they just played it and we're done. Animal Crossing is one of those games where it's like you don't beat Animal Crossing just done with it. No, it doesn't happen. You spend months and weeks and years in your life in Animal Crossing, so it gives more longevity, I feel, to the N64 Mini, should it be a thing. It is going to be a bit of tiresome and annoying for them to localize an old Animal Crossing for a mini system, but I feel like it would be a great addition to have Animal Crossing on this because it adds the longevity of the system, definitely in my opinion.
All right, not a bad game. I was gonna say that one's kind of a little cheap because we didn't get that game until the GameCube era.
Yes, but it was in Japan, and I'm gonna make the argument that we never got Star Fox 2. We got Star Fox 2 on the SNES Mini. That's why I thought it could be a fun thing to put in this. It never saw release on N64 in the States. Why not release it now just for a little bit of fun?
Endless. Yeah, no, that's not a bad. That's okay. I'll give you your cheat. I think it's cool.
Okay.
All right. So I have one game, but I think licensing might be an issue. But this is a game I spent hours playing with my friends, in high school. So I was in high school when the N64 was in its heyday. So the game that I have is the first game, WCW versus NWO. So this is a wrestling game by THQ. This is a fantastic game. First off, you had all your little hidden characters. There were hidden characters like THQ Man, who was like Rey Mysterio but super OP. It's like if Rey Mysterio was a heavyweight. So he was cool. You also had my favorite thing ever. You had the 30-man Royal Rumbles, where up to 30 wrestlers would come out in a ring, and I loved the cheesy animations. I love how you could slide the character under the ring, look under the mat, pull out like a ladder or a steel chair, and start bashing people with that. And I love the game even had blood, like fake blood. It looked so corny, but it was a fun game. So I would, get all my friends and family. We load up all 4 controllers, plug in our Rumble packs, and we just wail on each other in these 30-man Royal Rumble matches, and they would last an hour because that's how long it was. And it would be so sucky if you got eliminated early on, because then you just have to watch as the rest of the people played. But it was so fun. Like, the AI in that game is great. The character models are so bad, but you could tell who was who. It was always fun to, play a Sting and then pull out that coveted baseball bat and just start wailing on Goldberg or Hulk Hogan. Love that game. It's a cheesy game, and I know licensing would be an issue now, especially since I think 2K has the license for most of the superstars that would be available in that game. But they make bad games anyway for Nintendo products apparently. So let's get this game.
I had not heard of that before, but it sounds corny and fun enough. It sounds pretty fun. I'll check it out at some point. But I'm gonna have to cheat again. I'm already cheating again, I know. But I'm gonna go with Sin and Punishment. The original Sin and Punishment was also not released in the West. I loved Sin and Punishment Star Successor on the Wii. I loved it. It was a great bullet hell shooter, super fun. But it was not released in the West until around the time Sin and Punishment for Star Successor came on Wii. It got a Wii Virtual Console release as well, and I believe it was localized. So I would definitely be down to. I never played the original either. I only played Star Successor, despite it being on the Wii.
I think we got it in the eShop for the Wii, and that was it. And that was
eShop channel. Thank you.
Yeah, they got it. It was whatever the eShop was called back in the day, and it only came out right before the release of the sequel.
Yes. But I would love if Sin and Punishment got on this, because it was a missed classic, and even the Wii one was a missed classic in all honesty, because it was great. I loved it, but because it's not a mainstream franchise, it didn't quite do as well. Not many people have heard of Sin and Punishment, but I loved it. But Sin and Punishment would be a great addition to the N64 classic, in my opinion.
Alright, I'm gonna go a little bit out of left field, and again, licensing issue with this game.
Okay.
But Perfect Dark.
Perfect.
I know a lot of
Doesn't
people
Microsoft have that now?
Yes, they do. That's why it's a licensing issue. But that original Perfect Dark from Rare. Now I know a lot of people are mad at me because I didn't say GoldenEye. Guys, GoldenEye is not the better version of this game. Perfect Dark is the better version because you can have up to 4 players, or you can have AI bots. You can have some brutal AI bots in this game. The stages are better. The weapons are better. The story mode is definitely not as good, but we didn't come here for a story mode. We came here for some multiplayer fun. So yeah, bring Perfect Dark back. Let us get Perfect Dark on the N64 Classic Edition, because why not? Why not? Microsoft plays nice already. We got Minecraft on the Switch.
But I'm gonna stop cheating for a while here. I'm gonna go Paper Mario.
Alright, I also have Paper Mario on my list. So
Alright.
Paper Mario is our first official game on our N64 Classic Edition. Alright, so now that Paper Mario's out of the way, my next game, Donkey Kong 64.
Yes, that is on my list.
Alright, so we're 2 for 2 right now.
Yep.
So DK64. I love DK64. I love the stupid DK rap at the beginning of the game.
Yes.
That's just to show that you're going to have a good fun time with that.
Definitely.
I know the graphics weren't great. Considering what Rare was doing, DK64, it's kind of an ugly game. But it is a fun game. You have loads of collectibles. Some would say too many, but you have loads of collectibles. You have a fun story. Hell, if you find the secret bonus, Donkey Kong, original Donkey Kong arcade mode in that game, you are a boss. Because that is a fun little tidbit that's in the game. You can actually play the arcade version of Donkey Kong in that game So props to Rare for doing that. But just props to the game being really fun. Like it has even the multiplayer is fun in DK64.
Mm-hmm.
Like the multiplayer battle mode, and this is when every game had a battle mode. But DK64's battle mode, there's something comedic about it that just makes it's like very Mario Kart-esque.
Mm-hmm.
But it's Donkey Kong, man. I love the fact that they have their weapons, like the Diddy Kong with his little barrel blasters. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. So yeah, DK64. All right, so we got 2 on the system already.
Kirby 64.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah, that's a good one.
I did not think Crystal Shards was awesome. You had the fusion abilities and combos. That was great, and I'm so glad they're returning in the new Switch version. To an extent, they're not the same, but they are fusion abilities in the list, and I love it. So Kirby 64 was on my list.
All right. So my next game, Bomberman 64.
Ooh, no, I did not have that. Shoot.
Bomberman 64 is a classic. It is like the best version of Bomberman.
I will agree. I forgot about it though.
It's even better than the new. It's better than Bomberman R.
Yeah,
a lot.
It is. Agreed.
But I mean, yeah, man, it's just one of these classic games. Like one of these few characters who managed to kind of, find a way to exist outside of the arcade.
Yes.
But Bomberman, he's kind of fallen on some hard times. I wholeheartedly blame Konami for that. But man, Konami needs to Nintendo needs to get on board and get Konami to drop this on an N64 Classic Edition.
All right, yeah. So I guess I'm not actually sure if this is cheating or not. But Pokemon Stadium / Snap, I couldn't really decide because Pokemon Snap is one of those what's the word? Just like fun experiences in Pokemon, but I feel like Stadium would be the more traditional experience. And because you can't judge Snap like you would a normal Pokemon game, I couldn't really decide. So I'm having both of them.
I have both of those games on my list.
Are they counted as the same or as one? Because I counted them as one.
I have them as individual games.
Okay. I just couldn't decide, but okay.
So, let us find a coin.
Oh, coin flip? Okay. So heads for what? Yeah. Heads for what? Tails for what?
Heads for Snap.
Alright, heads for Snap.
Tails for Stadium. Alright.
That's a big coin.
Penny. Yes, it's a giant ass penny. That doesn't count as a flip.
Okay.
Okay.
Tails. So that is Stadium, correct?
Stadium.
Alright, cool. Pokemon Stadium goes on the list. Okay.
Alright.
Okay.
So I'm adding Pokemon Stadium to the official list. Wow, so we've got 3 games on the list already.
Yes.
We are we are 1/5 of the way through on this list, and we still haven't had the other 2 guys vote yet.
Yeah. I think like my list is I believe 17 total, but some of them are like kind of maybes. So we'll see. But I feel like we've already established that Sin and Punishment, Animal Crossing, and Kirby are not on my list. The WWE game is not on your list, and the WWE game is not on my list, etc. So we've got some space left over, and I think when they cast their votes, we'll pick up some of the rest that were missed on both of our lists.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so the next game I have on my list is a game that I actually had to do some reflection on because I'm like, is this the best version of this game? Probably not when I think about it, but does it belong on this piece of hardware? Most definitely. So, I'm going to go with Mario Golf.
I do not have Mario Golf. I actually, that's spoilers to say, but I have like every other Mario Friendship Ender game but Golf, which Golf isn't even not for the Friendship Ender actually, because that one's more single player than anything, I'd say. Nothing like crazy really happened, but I have every other.
What I loved about Mario Golf, and this is, I'm going back into my lens of how I viewed things in high school. The biggest golf game when I was in high school was Tiger Woods Golf. Like the franchise, the Tiger Woods golf franchise had just really kind of taken off, and even people who didn't like golf were like, Tiger Woods golf is the shit, and I'm like, Tiger Woods golf is just golf. It's boring. Mario Golf was fun. I'm like,
as soon as it's a plumber swinging the golf club, it's exciting.
Exactly. It was that moment where Mario had proved that he was so malleable and so universally loved that Mario could do something as lame as golf. And you would still have a buttload of fun.
Alright, I do not have Mario Golf, though. I have, like, every other one. So I'm actually going to say Mario Tennis. That's my next game.
Mario Tennis is also on my list.
Alright, cool.
Right,
which, we're getting the new Mario Tennis Aces, which is super cool.
I'm excited about Mario Tennis Aces. I have been pretty critical of Camelot with their tennis,
Yeah.
because they haven't been putting too much effort into it.
But the story mode is a good push.
Yeah, it's a good start. I'm hoping that the gameplay mechanics, bring this back to
become a bit more fun.
Exactly, and if they don't get it right this time, I think Nintendo needs to take it away from them and start doing Mario Tennis in-house again.
Yeah, definitely.
But I do have Mario Tennis. Alright, next up, for the exact same reason that Donkey Kong is on the list, Banjo-Kazooie 1.
Yes, that is on my list. Not Banjo-Tooie, but 1, yes.
Yes, because Banjo-Tooie is inferior to Banjo-Kazooie. Just love those characters.
But once again, a licensing issue.
These licensing issues, though, I mean...
But if there's any game that I thought that deserves a licensing on my entire list, it was Banjo-Kazooie.
You know what, though? Banjo-Kazooie are on the Nintendo Switch right now, in Minecraft.
Yes. They are. So is Master Chief.
Exactly, so, come on now, if you're gonna allow that, you might just go ahead and let us have this for the N64 Classic.
But you're already making it. Minecraft is a Microsoft IP, so you kind of have to say, like, if you're going to put it on other platforms, they should at least have their own characters on those other platforms.
Exactly.
It's kind of dumb not to, but whatever.
This is another game, though, that Banjo-Kazooie. If you are younger and you have played Mario Odyssey and you love Mario Odyssey, give Banjo-Kazooie a try.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think a lot of the best things in Banjo-Kazooie make their way into Super Mario Odyssey.
Agreed.
Except for the the two character aspect of the game. But even then,
Cappy could be. He flies. Cappy flies. He's on Mario's head. But
yeah, Banjo-Kazooie, man, I love that game, and man, I kind of want to go back and play that one because that's when Rare was knocking things out of the park, man.
The current Rare isn't even made up a lot of the same staff, if at all, I believe, right? The ones that are making Sea of Thieves right now, they're not even the same guys. It's all Playtonic now, which have made Yooka-Laylee.
Yeah, exactly. Which Yooka-Laylee is like the spiritual successor to Banjo-Kazooie.
Yes, and it's made by Rare, just a different name.
Exactly.
The only thing that Microsoft owns other than the rights to the characters and name Banjo-Kazooie, is the logo and branding of Rare, but the people that made the actual game, Banjo-Kazooie.
The problem with that is that sometimes branding is everything.
Yes, it is.
People start to I would say with retro in Nintendo's case, we associate Retro as a studio that has revitalized Metroid and Donkey Kong.
Yes.
If Retro were to, have this massive purge, we would still associate the caliber of games with that studio, and that's the problem. We are still associating Rare with Donkey Kong
Country, great games.
Banjo-Kazooie, Diddy Kong Racing. We're associating that company with its previous successes, not so much as its current failures.
Yes. Which,
as of late, Rare has had a lot of what most people would consider to be failures.
But so Banjo-Kazooie was yours, so it's now mine, correct?
Yep.
So they're pretty much unranked for the most part from here on out. But I guess just the obvious one, Super Mario 64, is the next one.
I don't have that game on my list. There are a ton of ways to play Mario 64. Like, so many. You have the DS version. You have it on the eShops. I try to stick away from the tentpole games that...
I did too, but only the ones that had been officially released in a more recent fashion was my argument. Because it's like, the only real, other than just an eShop port of Super Mario 64 was Super Mario 64 DS, which is still older than, let's say, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, which was released on 3DS. So it's been a bit longer of an official, like, not remake, but it was, but a not just an eShop title. So N64 Mini is not eShop; it's its own thing. It's in a sense.
I chose to stay away from that. I don't have any of the Zelda games, and I don't have Mario 64.
I only added Zelda Ocarina of Time as a, like, just in case. I have it on there as, like, the maybe. It's the only one it's its own maybe category, honestly. But Super Mario 64 did find its way in to my main list as well. So that is not on your list. Cool. Moving on.
I did have one game that has had a semi-recent re-release. Star Fox 64.
I was thinking you're gonna say Star Fox. Okay, yes, I do have Star Fox. Once again, it's one of the big titles on N64. It had Star Fox Zero as well as 3DS, but it's like those games just weren't as well received. And in Star Fox Zero's case, not rightfully so, but it wasn't as good. But this is if you're going to do Star Fox 64, I feel like you can't do better than the original, and so it does deserve to be on here.
I have Star Fox 64 on my list on the merit of its multiplayer.
Yes.
Star Fox 64 has a brilliant competitive multiplayer. I love the fact that if you've unlocked enough stuff in the main game, that you get the pilotless characters, so they're on foot. That's so funny to see Slippy Toad running around the stage while people are flying over him, and all he's got is a bazooka. Love that. So I had Star Fox 64 there, just because Star Fox 64 has only had the one really re-release, and it was very early in the 3DS's lifespan.
Yes. I'm also gonna say, I almost wanted to, like, avoid picking multiplayer games in general, but I picked a bunch just to, like, fill out the list a bit more. But I almost was very, very hesitant in picking them, because it's like, do we know that multiplayer would be really supported for 4 people? I wasn't entirely sure if that would be a thing that's supported. And I'm not sure why. I felt like there might be a chance that it's not, if it actually came to be. And it's like, wow, that'd be super unfortunate.
Let's pause right here for a minute to talk about the specifications of the system. So, in my dream version of the N64 Classic and Mini Edition, or whatever they're going to call it,
yes,
I want 4 controller ports. I want Rumble enabled, built into the controllers. I want that built into the controllers. I want the RAM expansion pack as well built into the system, so that we could play the games like DK64. It's kind of required for that game, so I would like those 3 functions to be built into the system, and you really only have to package 2 controllers in the box.
And then you buy extras.
And then you can buy the extra controllers. But I would like to see those. So, just a quick rundown before we move back into our selections. The games that have made it into the system thus far are Paper Mario, DK64, Pokemon Stadium, Mario Tennis, Banjo-Kazooie, Star Fox 64. So there's 6 games on our list already. Right. Now, one thing that I want to make note, one more little addendum to the rules, is that if 3 people have something on the list, and we've hit our 15 games, we have to vote on the game to bump off. So when the other guys throw their votes in, this might start getting a little competitive.
Now, let's say, I feel like Sin and Punishment or Animal Crossing really warranted it, but there's sort of, like, cheaty ideas. Could we have, like, have a time where we go back and say, like, well, okay, I do kind of like the idea of having Sin and Punishment more than having, this other game I voted on. So let's, like, pick Sin and Punishment in a later...
Yes,
is that all? Okay.
When everybody's cast their votes, we will have a...
chance to go back and...
Exactly, and just go ahead and throw our votes in. It's like, hey, I didn't think of that game.
Mm-hmm.
I throw my vote in for that game.
All right, sure.
That could bump something off the list.
Okay.
So we've got Star Fox in. What's your next pick?
Mm-hmm. We just finished the talk about multiplayer Mario Kart 64.
Didn't add that to my list because of
it's
everywhere.
It is everywhere, but it's classic local multiplayer Mario Kart. There's no experience better than that. And N64 did it right. There's so many memories.
There's a reason.
That's a nostalgia driver.
There's another reason why.
Okay.
I didn't add it.
Okay.
I hate every ice stage.
Oh yeah. 64. Fair enough. That's you play it enough to deal with it. It's never fun though.
I will say though that there are some great stages.
Okay. Yeah.
Wario Stadium is a fantastic stage. I love the shortcut on that stage, and like it pains me to not have added that game to the list. But then I think ice stages.
Okay.
Can't do it. All right.
Fair enough.
My next game on the list, Wave Race.
Wave Race 64 is on my list. Yeah, that's what my next throw your way was going to be Wave Race, because it's like, okay, Mario Kart did not make the cut. We got to go with a racing game. So Wave Race 64.
That is exactly why I chose it. And it was close because it was between Wave Race and Cruisin' USA.
Cruisin' USA, yeah. Mm-hmm. That was a good one.
I really associate Cruisin' USA as an arcade game.
I think so as well. It's not racing, it's definitely more arcade, yeah.
So Wave Race 64, it's just something funny about racing on a jet ski. It's cheesy, but it's great at the same time. And that was back in the day when people were like, it's too hard to program water. And I'm like, and Nintendo just was like, well, we're going to do it anyway.
This one was kind of a maybe, but it's kind of more of a definite than Ocarina of Time was. F-Zero X. Because we're on the subject of racing now, so I'm going to keep this train rolling. F-Zero X.
F-Zero was a close one, but...
Okay, not on your list?
It was not on my list.
All right.
It was almost on my list, but
okay.
I didn't want to have too many racing games on my list.
My total list is 17, so that I could get away with adding a couple of racing games. Because, Mario Kart I thought would be the definite one, but no, you've proven me wrong. Until multiple people start voting, I guess, as well. You got to get the other guys' votes.
Exactly. That's the thing. I love that game, but...
You could have to bump it in favor of Mario Kart if the votes...
Exactly. It's another thing, too, is that if I'm going to play Mario Kart, I'm going to want to play the best version of Mario Kart.
Yeah,
and I don't think I'll be picking up my N64... I don't think I'll be playing the N64 Classic version. There are a few games on my NES Classic and my Super NES Classic that I've never even booted up. And not because they're bad games, because there's no bad games on either of those consoles. It's just that...
There's just a better version out there.
Exactly, and I would rather play, a more up-to-date
better version. All right, fair enough.
One game, though, that kind of supersedes that rule is Resident Evil 2. I had Resident Evil 2 on my list. Now, I know it's the worst version of Resident Evil 2. No voice acting. Not the best version, but that's how I experienced Resident Evil 2, was on the N64. And Nintendo and Capcom have a fairly decent relationship. I would like to see them add that game to the N64 Classic Edition. It might very well be the best Resident Evil game outside of 4. So I threw that in on my list. I knew that's a long shot game, but I want to see if anybody else had that same kind of love for it. So
I might have, but I've actually never ever played Resident Evil. They've kind of been things I think about playing sometimes, but I've never done it. I've never played Resident Evil, so I've never played it, so I never had the opportunity to think about it when I was making the list, making my list here. So it's might be a maybe thing one day. But if anything, I have to play 4. I'd assume, so maybe 7. 7's not even that. It's different from what I hear. But I don't know where I'd start. I guess 4 is the best one, so you'd start with that, I'd assume. But I don't know. I haven't played any, so.
The must-play games, in my opinion, are Veronica, 7, 4, and 2.
I've been
marred in like pain.
I've been considering getting Revelations for like the longest time, and they are fairly cheap on the Switch. I liked on the Wii U version you could have zombies like Miiverse posts, and that sounded kind of cool to me. I bet Miiverse kind of ruined it. Unfortunately, I don't know, but it's kind of tempting to see like zombies with little comments out of them. I don't know, but I've never played Resident Evil though.
All right, what's your next pick?
Didn't I just... Oh, no, you picked... Yeah, duh. Then let's see here. Let's say, going down this list... I mean, still not quite racing. Pilot Wings 64.
Ooh, that's a good game, but... Didn't make
not
my
on your
list.
Alright, fair enough.
The game didn't age well. That game didn't age well.
It did not, you're right.
I don't think I didn't want to see that in a high-definition capacity.
Okay, fair enough.
Alright, so, next up on my list... One of these games from this franchise had to make it on the list, and it was a tough pick, but Mario Party 2.
I was gonna say you're picking Mario Party, and I got scared. But I picked Mario Party 1.
I thought, okay, so personal opinion, Mario Party 1 is superior to Mario Party 2. I cannot go through my life with those blisters again.
Yeah, I was worried about that because the spinning mini games with the N64 joysticks, they got sued over, I believe, right? But I think if they did remake the controllers, they hopefully pad the joysticks, hopefully, and hopefully it fixes it somehow.
Either that, or they'd have to remove those games from the code.
Well, they couldn't do that because that's altering the game in a big way. There's a lot of those games.
That's true. Yeah, I had to go with 2 just on the basis that I didn't want to see anybody injuring themselves again.
I was worried about that. Yeah, I was like, should I pick 2 because? But okay, what if we did a coin flip though for Mario Party? Could we do another coin flip, like heads for 1 and then tails for 2?
All right, we'll do it. Heads for 1, tails for 2. Let's see. We're gonna bring out our giant coin, and it is tails.
Tails for 2. All right. So we're picking Mario Party 2. All right.
Yep. People's hands will thank us for this.
I mean, I almost feel like they would never put 2 on anyways, or put 1 on anyways, just because there were the lawsuits. And so,
that, or they're gonna have to ship the system with gloves.
Yeah, like something. It's just it's too risky for them to try and ever re-release that game. Like, yeah, it's a risk at this point.
All right, so I've got 1 game left. So what's your next pick?
What have I not said? I've said Paper Mario, I've said Donkey Kong, I've said Wave Race, I've said Pilot Wings, I've said Kirby, I've said Sin and Punishment, said Super Mario, Animal Crossing, Star Fox, Mario Party, Banjo-Kazooie, Mario Kart, Mario Tennis, F-Zero. So at this point, it looks like other than Legend of Zelda, I have, I believe, 2 or 3 left. So let's say Smash 64.
All right, that was my last pick as well.
All right. Well, then can I just say the rest of mine then?
Absolutely, yeah. But before we do that, let's just talk about Smash 64.
Okay, yes.
This is it. This is the quintessential party game. This is the game where
I pick Kirby and win.
This is the game where bragging rights started in full force.
Yeah.
Which one of us could beat out which one? So, back in the day, me and my friend, we used to do the 100-man, the 99 live 4-player death matches. Last person standing wins.
Oh, how tired were your hands?
Oh man, it was so bad when it was all said and done. Those 99 live matches, those go on for over an hour.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Especially if you're playing with people who are like within your skill range.
Mm-hmm. You're not just clobbering them to 20 lives ahead or something. Yeah, no, definitely.
And then you want to you start creating alliances.
Because someone's a little too high. Were items on at all? Because that would change the course of events greatly if items were on.
Sometimes items were on.
Sometimes. All right.
Sometimes.
All right.
The majority of the time they were off because we all know that Smash is truly competitive when there are no items.
Yeah. Okay.
I will say this: let me get a beam sword in my hands, and y'all going down.
I mean, exactly. I feel like when you're doing 99 man with 4 people, you have to have the items on personally, because at that point, I mean, you could do it with skill, but that's just brutal. That's kind of brutal. I feel like just for speeding things up or whatever, or the sake of just like more fun, like, you know, items take a bit of skill depending on the items. Like, you're better than beam sword with me, let's say. You know, you have more skill with that beam sword, so you know you have a skill that I don't, the beam sword, and so you could look at it that way as well. No, it's competitive. I'm better at that. But Yoshi's Story is on my list.
That is a rare pick for somebody, Alex, and not a lot of people have love for that Yoshi Story.
It's. I mean, if I'm going down the line, I love Super Mario 64 a lot. I love Star Fox a lot. I love Mario Party a lot. Banjo-Kazooie, Mario Kart, Mario Tennis. It's like in between. It's just probably just under Pokemon Stadium somewhere though. Probably just under Pokemon Stadium, yeah. But it definitely warranted my pick in some fashion. But I believe now I've mentioned the whole list, right? Yes, that should be the whole list. Yep, that's my whole list. So just the other 2 Smash and Yoshi's Story, and we're set for me.
All right, so
Legend of Zelda, but you already know it's on your list. It was kind of a maybe for me, anyways. So
we ended up with a good number of games for the first, for the first 2 set of people voting. So we have run through this list again: Paper Mario, Donkey Kong 64, Pokemon Stadium, Mario Tennis, Banjo-Kazooie, Star Fox 64, Wave Race 64, Mario Party 2, and Smash 64. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games on our list. 9 total games. That is a lot more than I anticipated from just the first 2 people. It's going to be interesting when Jay Brilliant and Jaden cast their vote, because we might see something get. We might see the list fill out, but we might see our first game get bumped off. So yeah,
definitely.
Our N64 Classic Edition, we only have 6 slots left. Something is definitely getting bumped, in my opinion.
But I also feel like we're not going to get as many bumps as we would anticipate, because I feel like there's going to be a lot more repeats than we anticipate as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't
be any oddball choices.
Exactly, especially since there's a good number of games on my list and your list that didn't have any coinciding. So all we need from this list is one more person to nominate a game that was missing. So
pretty much, yeah.
For me, it was WCW versus NWO. If Jay Brilliant were to nominate that game, that game would make its way into our perfect N64 Classic Edition. So there's a lot of room. And then there might be a game that neither you or I thought about. I mean, the N64 library was pretty big.
Yeah.
There are a lot of N64 games. Despite it not being Nintendo's best console, there are a lot of games that just, I didn't think to say. But I think we hit a very good point. So guys, this is a perfect time for us to take a 5-minute break. So when we come back, we're going to do a very different deep dive than we normally do. But we're going to be talking about XenoBlade Chronicles. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
Okay, so guys, welcome back to the Nintendo Power Zone. just a quick recap. We did have some audio issues in the first half. They've been corrected for the second half. Apparently, I forgot to sync up my mic properly, so we're not going to have those issues. But we're back, and I'm your boy, Nice1983, and again, I am joined by Blues. So, we're going to talk about XenoBlade Chronicles 2. So, let's go ahead and start with this. Monolith Soft has been a very busy developer. In 2015, they released XenoBlade Chronicles X. They also assisted in the development of Breath of the Wild and Splatoon 2. So when did they find time to make a game as vast and as deep as XenoBlade Chronicles 2? When the game was first announced during the 2017 January Switch event, it was met with a lot of skepticism by both devout and casual fans, who all held the belief that there was no way the game would release in 2017. But on December 1st, the game was released and to pretty critical acclaim. The game is sitting at an 83% on Metacritic, which makes it another runaway success on the Nintendo Switch. But what makes the game so special? What sets it apart from other JRPGs such as Final Fantasy XV? Does it have any relation to Xenoblade Chronicles or Xenoblade Chronicles X? Today we're going to deep dive and give all the answers you seek. So listener beware, there are spoilers abound. Again, guys, that is your second spoiler warning for this episode. If you've gone any further than this, I can't help you. Please don't comment that you're mad at us. You've been warned. But before we talk about any of this stuff, man, I just want to talk real briefly about this game and how I felt about this game. I've played tons of video games in the 34 years that I've been alive. I would say that there's only been a handful of those games that make me really think about life after the game is complete. Just like put me in a deep state of like,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Not a lot of games do that. Most of the time I play a game to escape a certain sense of reality. You know, not that my reality needs to be escaped in any sense, but you know, this game made me very reflective when it was all said and done. Like for weeks, you know, after I beat the game, like I'm now sitting on the third or fourth week since I've beaten the game. I spent like the first 2 weeks just contemplating the story, the characters, the ending, the motivations. So when it was time to record, you know, an episode, I was like, well, we have to talk about this, you know, just get our initial thoughts out there on the game. And, once I wrap Wild Odyssey, I'm going to start another scripted series just based on Xenoblade Chronicles 2. But I'm still working on a direction for that. But I want to talk about the game in a discussion format simply because, man, it's just... I've been thinking about this game a lot.
There's a lot to talk about and a lot to think about it, though. There definitely is.
But I also want to do this as a sort of different deep dive. I don't want to spend, like, you know, hours of exposition on certain things, but I kind of want to just get through these topics that we have in a concise way. Something, even though we're gonna have spoilers, I want to make sure we're not like completely destroying the game for people. Anyway, I guess the first thing we should start with is the story and characters. Now, it's really hard to talk about a Xenoblade game without talking about his story right away. So the game starts with a salvager named Rex. He's just going by his, you know, daily life, just jumping into the Cloud Sea, salvaging, getting whatever monies he can from, you know, his salvages, and you know, he's just doing his thing. He doesn't really have a care in the world other than the fact that he, you know, he's taking notice that Titans have begun dying, and he's seen it a few times.
He's also worried about his village back home, Fonset Village, where he's from. He's been sending money back there, so that's why he's even salvaging, is because he needs to raise money for his village. You know, they're not the most wealthy, they're kind of poor, so he's just trying to help them out over there. And that's his only other care than, you know, the Titans and just doing his thing as salvaging.
Outside of that, though, you were led to believe that Rex lives sort of a carefree existence while somewhat living on the edge because, you know, he's kind of like a thrill seeker at the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
So he goes to go reclaim some money from one of his salvaging things when he is told that somebody wants to speak to him, a guy of high power. So that would be Chairman Bana.
Yes.
And Bana tells Rex, when you finally get to him after a bunch of tedious little tasks, that he has a big mission for Rex. And
that will pay a lot of money.
Lots of money. And it is here that we are introduced to our antagonists, Jin, Malos, and Nia.
Well, is Nia an antagonist?
Well, at this point in the game, let's call her an antagonist.
Okay. All right.
At this juncture.
All right.
So they tell Rex that they're going to go very deep into the Cloud Sea. They found some very important ruins, and they are willing to pay him. But they have this little caveat that the person who goes on this mission for them has to be from Letheria.
Yes, the Letherian Archipelago, which is where Fonset Village is, which is Rex's hometown.
So they go ahead. Rex accepts the mission without knowing what the mission is. He's just like, I'll do it because I'm happy-go-lucky, carefree, living on the edge.
Well, no, he needs the big money that Bana's going to pay him to send back to his village.
True, but
it's a challenge. He accepts the challenge,
He does it so nonchalantly that it's like, yeah, dude, you might want to start thinking about some consequences, man. Get off the edge. Take a step back. But he goes and he tells his Titan, who's
Acerta.
We'll call him Gramps from this point forward.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Just because Acerta is a horrible name and I don't want to keep saying it.
All right.
But yes, he tells Gramps.
For a bit of context on Gramps, Gramps is a smaller Titan who's basically only big enough for Rex to live on and carry Rex around. But that's his home. But later on, we'll talk about how that changes in a sense. But for right now, he's a giant Titan that Rex lives on and rides on.
Exactly. So Rex accepts the mission, tells Gramps he's going. Gramps chastises him slightly. And once the mission takes part, you dive into the Cloud Sea in this amazingly epic cutscene. And from there, Rex leads Jin, Malos, and Nia through the corridors of this building until he finally reaches your first unique beast. All right? It's kind of a cakewalk. Beat that unique beast, and here's where the whole somebody from Letheria must come into play. Because only someone from Letheria can open this huge doorway. So once the doorway is opened by Rex, they see a beautiful redhead sword girl. Although we have no context for the fact that she's a sword girl. Can
I have a little question for you? So it was like you were able to they made it clear to piece together the points of the puzzle that the door needed to be opened from someone from Letheria, but they never really directly said that at that moment. They just said one of your kind has to open the door. So the only real things we had was that Bana said he needed someone from Letheria, and they needed someone of his kind. So was there any indication at this point that it had to be what his kind meant was Letheria? No,
and we don't really come back to that point until much later, nearly the end of the game.
Yeah, that's what I thought. They never really mentioned it at the beginning. Yeah, it's something that they kind of had to figure out for yourself.
Yes.
All right, just double check.
So they find the girl, and she's in a stasis chamber, and Rex is approaching. When he is warned by, I believe it's Malos, don't touch that. Rex doesn't listen. Takes a sword through the chest for it.
Yeah, I think
Jin slaughters Rex essentially.
Yes, Jin slaughters him. I thought Malos didn't say it, but Jin said it. Maybe I'm wrong.
I can't quite recall. I'd have to go back. He is warned not to touch it.
Yes.
He does not listen. He is stabbed through the chest.
And he dies
instantly. Just instantly dies.
Game over.
While he's in that state between life and death, he is transported to Elysium. We're going to use air quotes for Elysium right here. He's transported to Elysium, where he hears a bell tolling. He must think it's coming from the Praetorium, is what his exact words are. That must be coming from the Praetorium. Runs off, where he sees the redhead girl standing by a tree. She offers him new life as long as he'll take her to actual Elysium.
Mm-hmm.
So Rex has this moment where he kind of freaks out. He's like, "Holy crap, I'm dead!" And like he has this realization. He's like, "Oh no, what am I gonna do? Gramps is gonna kill me. Wait, I'm already dead." Blah. Accepts Pyra's offer, who at this point she has acknowledged that she is Pyra. She revitalizes him by giving him a fraction of the her core crystal,
which is her life force.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
From there, we see Jin and Malos carrying that stasis chamber that Pyra's in outside of the building, and then Rex bursts through the building out of nowhere, just completely bursts through it, holding this awesome sword, and he challenges Malos. He challenges all of them to combat, but Malos is the one who picks up his blade, and they go at it in a beautifully done cutscene.
Very long cutscene.
So Nia, in the process, I want to go back to Nia because we've overlooked her a little bit. She actually is unhappy with the fact that Jin has slaughtered Rex, but she's still willing to follow orders up until this point. She does not engage in the combat because she thinks it's wrong. She's like, "You've already killed him once." And from there, epic fight scene, which results in the ship that they are on coming under heavy fire. Out of nowhere, Gramps pops up and tells Rex to jump, jumps on top of Ursula, or Gramps, and they fly off.
Well, Nia, Pyra, and Rex all fly off on Ursula, correct?
Yes.
Not just Rex, yes.
It's the group, yes, because at this point, Nia decided that it's time to bail.
Mm-hmm.
So, when the cutscene comes back, we see that they've all landed on, I believe it's Uriah.
Yes. Or, no, not Uriah. Uriah's the third or second one. It's Gormat.
Gormat.
Yes, it's Gormat in the lower like legs forest of Gormat, and they're not all together. It's just Rex and Pyra at the beginning. We don't know where everyone else is, correct? Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Everybody's kind of scattered. So they're looking around on Gormat. Eventually, they come across Gramps' body. He's still alive. And he tells Rex it was like a pleasure raising him. He was a great son, etc., etc. Dissipates into thin air. Rex has another freak out moment. Gramps! Gramps, no! No! And then Gramps comes back in this cute, cuddly, tiny Titan form. Yeah, exactly. He's like a rodent with dragon wings.
Yeah.
And he's adorable. He's adorable, but he still has his old man voice.
Yeah.
And he explains to Rex that special Titans have this ability to return to their larval state, which he has done.
Mm-hmm.
So, little brief moment of comedy. Before we move on from that, I was thinking to myself, I was like, they did not set this character's death up very well. When I initially thought he was dead, I was like, I feel nothing because
it's so early.
You've only spoken to this thing for like 10 minutes of total gameplay time.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel nothing for its death. I was like, this is a rare missed opportunity here. Like I felt like this death meant nothing, but I was wrong. He wasn't dead, and
he's a rodent, small rodent.
Comedy ensues from that point forward.
Mm-hmm.
So go on a little further. You find Nia, and
Dromark as well.
And you get them to join the party, and from there the story kind of takes off. The whole goal from this point is to take Pyra to Elysium, and everything that ensues is just a byproduct of that initial goal. Along the way, we meet some really fantastic side characters. So, of course, we had Dromark, Nia added to your party. We meet Tora, and first we meet Morag.
Yes, Morag and Bridget.
Exactly. And they are kind of introduced as antagonists in the beginning, but they are government officials for More Ordained. She is like one of their head generals. Morag is a badass. At least the way they portray her is that she's a badass. We actually don't meet Morag first. We meet Bridget.
Bridget, yeah, she's without her driver at the beginning. So Bridget is Morag's blade, which blades and should we go over the blades and driver concept?
Yes. Let's go over the blade driver concept.
Yeah. So we've mentioned that Pyra is a sword girl. So Pyra is we would refer to as a blade. And so she herself is a weapon, a living weapon. And that living weapon, Pyra, who's a blade, can give her weapon her powers to Rex to wield, and they sort of have to work in unison here to accomplish the goal of combat. Exactly. I guess. And it creates, unique relationships between each driver and their blade. They have multiple blades. And each blade is its own whole character, which is crazy that this game has so many characters.
And to give a little bit more exposition on Pyra, she's not just any blade.
Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. They're not there yet.
Yes, Pyra is the Aegis. They do explain it a little bit during that first combat
during between Morag,
between Malos and.
Well, they only mentioned it. They don't. It's a mystery. Yes. Morag and Bridget are the ones really kind of explain it.
Exactly. So now that we've got a little bit of information on blades, so we are introduced to Bridget, and she is a hot blue fire blade.
One of the strongest blades in existence as well.
And what's cool about her is that she is very calm and composed when she realizes that this red-haired, green-cord blade is in fact the Aegis. And she doesn't care. She still decides that she's taking on Pyra. Nice little combat scene ensues. From there, Tora, who is part of the party officially, mentions...
No, not at this point. He's not there. Because they capture Nia. Nia goes missing. Tora saves them. Then they find Tora and he's part of the party.
Oh, okay. Yes, that's right. All right. So, after this epic fight scene, which results in some, a pipe bursting and Rex and Pyra using their fire powers, despite the water being present, whereas Bridget can't use her fire powers because of the water, they make a run for it. They are introduced to Tora at this point, and from there, I think we should talk about Tora a little bit. Tora is a Nopon, one of the. He's essentially like your Moogles from Final Fantasy VII, those recurring cutesy characters that all Japanese RPGs seem to have. So akin to Chocobo, Kate Sis, Moogles.
And I'd almost like to mention that you say recurring. They're not just like recurring at the world of XenoBlade Chronicles 2, because they are, but these are recurring throughout every single Xenoblade game. They're in Xenoblade Chronicles 1, they're in Xenoblade Chronicles X, which is very weird that they're in X, but
to go that a little aside. Further, there's like a proto version of them in like the Xenosaga.
Yes, there is.
Like to tie the larger Xeno franchise together as a whole, there are proto versions of the Nopons in the previous iterations of the franchise.
But when you think about those previous Xenosaga games as well as X, they're not the same universes really.
No, it's kind of like a relation by name only.
Yeah, but the Nopon are always a constant in Xeno games, no matter what universe it's in, which is an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah, I guess it's just become a signature of the developer.
I think so as well, but it's also you could do a lot of stuff with that continuous race. It could tie in a lot of different ways. Was that unifying factors there? Anyways,
exactly. So to talk about Tora a little bit more, Tora is a. I guess we could call him a genius despite his characteristics. He is a genius inventor, and he desires to become a driver, but he can't.
Yes, he does not have the potential to resonate with a core crystal. Exactly,
because not everyone can become a driver. It is exclusive to a certain people. They show a cutscene where his whole family at one point had tried to become drivers, and they were all left seizing on the floor, which was
actually nosebleeds for weeks.
Exactly, which was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But his workaround is for that. He's like, I'm a genius, and I come from a whole lineage of geniuses, and we have all been trying to build our own artificial blade. So,
think a robotic blade, just robot. That's a blade.
So Rex and Pyra obviously want to save Nia because she was kidnapped or she was captured during the ensuing battle. So Tora says, "I'll join your party, but I can't help you until my party
I
is
get." Yes.
So you are then sent on a couple of fetch quests to help Tora build his blade, which is at this point just called Poppy.
Well, at that point, it didn't have the name yet. It was after
once it's complete. Once it's complete, it is given the name Poppy. And
Poppy Alpha, technically, as well.
Yes.
Because there's different, But right now, the starting Poppy is Poppy Alpha.
Yes, so, and they just call her Poppy. Now, Poppy, her activation scene.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of weird. Yeah.
It's pure, like, fan service.
If anything, it's making fun of fan service, and I think that's sort of Kara's character. That he clearly wants like the whole master. I don't say Japanese, like the thing where the cute anime girl calls him master. That's what he's all about.
She basically functions as the cute maid.
Yeah, cute maid.
The Japanese maid trope, where like they are very subservient and must do exactly what they're told by whomever is paying them. So it's actually pretty hilarious. That first activation scene of Poppy made me laugh. Plus, I just love the look on Rex and Pyra's face. Oh
yeah, there's no other time they look that just blown away by stupidity.
Exactly, yeah. Like they have the very anime tropey, like no pupils, giant eyes in that moment. Hilarious.
Yeah.
So now that you've added Tora to your party, it's time to go rescue Nia, who at this point, in my opinion, is not worth rescuing.
No, not at all.
She is so annoying at this point of the game. You basically infiltrate a military facility. You save Nia, which culminates in your first major boss fight. The name of the boss is currently escaping me. But he's a giant tool. Either way, so you fight him, and then once you rescue Nia, you fight him, you go to make the great escape, only to be stopped
by Morag and Bridget.
And now the Blade and the driver are together, and you truly see the bad acidness of Morag and Bridget as a team. Ultimately, though, Rex finds a way to get the upper hand. Not going to spoil exactly how he takes the upper hand, but he does. And I love the moment where Morag is like, he didn't take this seriously. He held back. There's genuine, she feels genuinely offended by the fact that Rex did not go all out against her. Epic cutscene though. And it's here we're kind of introduced to the notion in the next cutscene that whatever pain or damage Rex takes on is also felt by Pyra. And something that we're going to talk about a little bit more as we progress through the story. From there, they realize they need to leave Gormott, and I believe they requisition a ship from Tora's uncle.
Uncle Nomon, right?
Yes. They get
little port.
Yes.
On the nose or whatever of Gormott.
Exactly. Yes, but in order for you to get his ship, you gotta do a couple side quests, and once that is complete, the crew takes off and they head for the World Tree where Elysium is said to be at. They are attacked by a giant cloud serpent.
Ophion is his name.
Ophion. We'll talk about Ophion a little bit more later. And they are sent careening down where they land in
Araya's belly.
Araya's belly. They're basically eaten by a titan, which is great.
It's like the scene in Pinocchio where Pinocchio gets eaten by the whale.
Exactly.
That's all I could think about.
So within Uriah's belly, we meet another character, Vandom.
Best character.
Badass.
Yes.
Vandam is badass. So Vandam is this very strong mercenary.
Head of the mercenaries.
He challenges you, and he makes it think like he's gonna try to steal Pyro away from you, like everybody has been trying to do up to this point. Only for him to say, "Okay, that's enough. I just wanted to test my strength against the Aegis," which I'm like, "Oh, that's badass." Like he just wanted to test himself. Hold on one second. Just give me 1 second. All right, sorry, my fault.
No, you're fine.
All right, what was the last thing we were talking about?
Vandam's being a badass for testing his strength against Pyro.
Yes, Vandam is a badass. Just because the fact that he wanted to test his strength. From there,
that's some confidence.
Oh,
and I'd also like to mention that that's not nearly the most badass thing he'll do when you're partying with Vandam.
Not at all. Yeah. So from there, you go on a series of side quests with Vandam, but you also learn a couple things. Like they use the character as sort of like a additional tutorial. He teaches you how to use the topple ability, which is new to Rex at this point.
Yes.
It's and that's something that will become very effective within the combat later on.
Yes.
And then you take him to the party go to Fonzamaima, where
which is an absolutely beautiful city.
Oh yeah, dude. I had a lot of Kingdom Hearts flashes while I was here. I was thinking like Twilight Town, if Twilight Town was much more populated.
More or less. I mean, it's even more beautiful than Twilight Town, I'd say, though.
Oh yeah, the atmosphere in that city, the music.
The entire Araya Titan is absolutely beautiful.
It's actually one of my favorite Titans visually.
Yes, agreed. It's very surreal in the design, and the city Fonzamaima is very, very amazing architecture. But yeah.
Yes. So once you're in Fonzamaima, you are tasked. You're looking for somebody who used to fight alongside Vandam. And once you are there, you go into I guess it's a playhouse or a theater.
Yes. A theater.
And you watch this awesome play that is setting up it's a lot of foreshadowing in this play to things we're gonna find out later. And it's kind of like the story of Adam, who was Pyro's original driver. And,
he more or less, but we'll get into that. It wasn't Pyro's driver, but the driver.
We're getting there. Getting there. I know it's so hard to not get ahead.
I know. Yeah. Oh, jeez.
But yeah, you're basically watching the story of Adam and how he freed the world. And you find out that Pyro may have had a hand at doing something bad at the death of, what is it, 3 Titans in this great Blade War.
Yes. The
So,
Aegis War resulted in 3 whole Titans just dying, and they're major Titans that were just like Araya, just like Ormat, in that they not Acerta. Acerta can only fit one person. These fit entire nations on them.
Yes.
The 3 whole nations have died.
And one of them, I believe, was Torna.
Mm-hmm.
Which is very important later on.
Yes.
Basically, the crux of the story is kind of about
Torna.
The motivation of certain characters is literally because of the fall of Torna and a certain driver.
Yes.
All right. So we come to find out that the play was the actors who were the troupe of actors were led by Cole, and Cole is who you were there to speak to. Cole seems to know Pyra pretty implicitly.
He goes to speak with Pyra in private, so no one else really knows. But then it becomes clear, like, they know each other from somewhere.
Exactly.
And this also isn't the first time that we've seen this. Like, Acerta, Gramps, and Pyra have had conversations in the very beginning where it's like,
exactly.
Hey, remember, 1,000 years ago or whatever? And it's
Exactly.
for Acerta, it makes sense. For Cole, it doesn't really make sense.
Exactly. But Pyra does refer to Cole by a different name during that private session. She calls him Minoff. From there, the group goes back to their hotel to partake in some rest. Then Cole is approached by Jin and Malos. And they basically say, "You're dying. You don't need to die. We can give you life. We can
just tell us where the Aegis is."
Exactly. We can make you whole again. You don't have to die. Cole/Minoff decides, I'm not about this life. I'm not going to,
sell out Pyra.
I don't want any part of what you guys are going to do. But he is the caretaker of a young girl named Iona. And she has overheard this entire conversation. And she doesn't want Cole to die. And she decides that she's gonna approach Jin and Malos and say, "Can you really save Cole?" And they're like, "Certainly can." And they kidnap her. Kidnap her because anime dumb moments.
Yeah, pretty much.
Word is sent to Pyra that they have Iona while everybody's asleep at the hotel. Pyra goes off on her own to kind of, barter herself. Her in exchange for Iona.
Iona, yes.
The group wakes up and they notice that Pyra's missing. They realize that
Iona is also missing.
Exactly, because Cole, makes them aware of this fact. They go running off looking for Pyra. They get to the very top of Fontamima.
Which is a lot of stairs to climb, mind you. That was kind of almost too many stairs to be worth the build up.
Well, the worst part is that not just that, but the staircase has these streams of water along the side.
You can go down.
Exactly, and I just couldn't help making the characters I had to make them surf down the water. So I actually had to go up the staircase a couple of times.
Yeah.
Because video game reasons. Anyway, so once you get to the top of the staircase, the longest staircase ever known to man. I'm gonna climb those stairs, by the way.
Which is only halfway of those actual stairs too, because there's another section. You just go in from the halfway point.
So once you're at the top, epic cutscene. Who is introduced in this? I believe it's Akos is introduced here. No.
No, it's
It's just Jin and Malos.
No, it's not. Jin's not there. It's the dude who has he cut off ether flow. He had a blade that would cut off the ether flow, right?
Akos, yes, that's Akos.
Oh, that is Akos. Okay.
Yeah. So
what was his blade's name? It was
I'm trying to remember. I'm gonna.
It was Shakespearean, fairy or something. I think. Not Oberon, but.
Looking up Akos right now.
Yeah. Was it Oberna, maybe? Not Oberon, but Oberna?
Obrona.
Obrona, okay.
Yes.
Yes.
So we're introduced to Akos. And Akos is a driver who obviously has a Brona, and as Blues put it, they have the ability to cut off the ether flow, which basically means that the blades and the drivers can't really, power each other.
Blades resonate the ether to give to the drivers in order for them to fight. If you interrupt that, then their blades and their weapons are basically useless.
Exactly. So this culminates in a fight that Rex cannot win. He is not a competent enough driver to figure a way out, and neither is anybody else in the party. The only person who isn't affected by this, I believe, is Poppy.
I don't remember. She generates her own, right? But
exactly, yes, because
she was still not able to do it though.
I believe she was just incapacitated because they beat her up.
Maybe.
It's been about a month since I've played this game.
Yeah, that was a while for me as well.
Exactly. So some of the I'm losing a little bit of the details.
But
Van Damme makes himself extraordinarily useful during this point.
And let's just talk about how. This is one of those even more badass parts. He stabs himself with his weapons to get the ether from his own body. He says, "You can't stop this ether flow." That's his dying wish, is to take these motherfuckers down with him. With his,
he just goes all out too.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant. It's just this brilliant moment where you see a character who is already just powerful in his own right, willing to find a way to become slightly more powerful and still just not be strong enough. So,
but he gives a lot of hope with that scene. He inspires Rex, and the words "your own war, find your own war." That was Venom's got away with words,
and it was just this awesome fight, though, man. Just that moment, but ultimately, it's not enough. He is overpowered by the group, and he dies. He dies, which sets Rex off in a way that he isn't set off. He has not been set up until this point. He has not been this mad. He has not been this hurt, and he tries. He tries to fight more. But he's about to die.
And it's also worth mentioning, he got set off right at the very beginning when Jin killed him. He got brought back to life. But that was nothing compared to this. This was a whole new level for Rex.
Exactly. It's one of those things where you realize that Rex's own life isn't as important to him as all of his friends. His party members, his friends.
Yeah.
So it actually sets him off a lot more, and it's a good character moment for Rex. But ultimately, again, as I said earlier, he is not a competent enough driver, to fight back against the odds that are stacked against him. And the
cutscene feels so one-sided.
Exactly. He is about to die. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They're going to kill him a second time.
And there's no coming back from that.
Exactly. And Pyra freaks out. She has this huge freak out moment, and she becomes something else entirely. At this point, we are introduced to the character of Mithra, which is Pyra's
other self.
We'll call it true form.
Yeah.
Original. We'll call it true form with air quotes up until this point. So, Pyra and Mithra, voiced by the same voice actress, by the way. And I want to say real quick that I wasn't a fan of the Pyra voice.
No.
But the subtle changes she makes in
being Mithra.
Exactly. The changes in her performance as Mithra, I'm like, okay, she is a really good voice actress. Because it's kind of hard to play two characters as one.
Yeah, definitely agreed.
And
I just wish that Pyra's voice was still stronger, because it's like Mithra's voice was obviously the stronger between the two, and it kind of made me want just more of Pyra's voice to be, because Pyra's, I don't want to say shy, but she's shy, and it shows in her voice, where her dialogue is very, very slow, quiet, and cuts off a lot.
Shy. I would say Pyra is meek.
Yes, meek. That's probably the word.
Meek. I would call her meek versus shy. Just she's not like fully confident in her abilities. But in this moment, Mithra activates and she performs what is it? The Arrow of Light special.
Yes, but she also does the foresight, future sight thing as well.
Yes, exactly. Where she basically grants Rex the ability to
see into the future,
slightly into the future. It's very much like Shulk's foresight.
Yes, exactly.
Except that in the context, the difference here is that the foresight is not a combat mechanic in this game, whereas it was in XenoBlade Chronicles 1. It's more of like a mechanic. They use it in cutscenes, but you don't actually have like the predictive abilities that you do within actual combat.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird to me as well that that's not a thing, because it's never really used in any cutscene that's not combat either. It's only in combat-related cutscenes. Exactly. Whereas with the Monado and XenoBlade Chronicles 1, it gives Shulk the power to see it randomly things that are even more distant into the future. I
honestly think it exists as a way to parallel the two games.
I think so as well.
Like, because Rex and Shulk's journeys up until this point have been pretty similar. Boy gets sword. Boy, gets all powerful sword, and goes on an adventure to save the world. It's they're running like a similar course. So I think it was just a way to draw a parallel that will kind of come into play later on in the game, much later on. But I think it was literally just there as a parallel. Like, he also has this ability. It's not really exclusive to Shulk from the first game. And up until this point, we have no reason to believe that these two games have any connection other than like the superficial ones, such as No Pawns
and just the name title.
Exactly. Well, and if we're going to talk about the Xeno franchise as a whole, not the only games in the franchise that are truly connected are the Xeno Saga games. Because they're direct continuations of one another.
Yes.
And this extends all the way back from Xenogear all the way to Xenoblade Chronicles 2. There's not a whole lot of like overarching themes between these games except for that Xeno Saga for the PS2. Yes, but Pyra wields superpowers, essentially. She is badass.
But yes.
Mithra. Yes, I'm sorry, Mithra. And this actually kind of makes Malos a little happy. He's like, oh, so she's finally awake. And it's one of these moments where I was like, oh, snap. This story is about to get a lot more complicated.
Yeah.
So, after that, basically Mithra saves them all, and we move on to Vandam's funeral.
Well, we also just see a glimpse of her just obliterating their core crystals. They're just dead.
Oh, yeah.
Those blades are dead. They're not coming back. Just obliterated.
Nope. Which like shows like how powerful
Mithra
the Aegis truly is. Yeah, but from there we move into Vandam's death. And Vandam has been buried where he died. That was like the code of the mercenary.
Yes.
I believe. And,
that's how Vandam would have wanted it, yeah.
Exactly. Teary celebration, funeral. And Mithra comes back out, and she basically accosts Rex. She's like, this is your fault. I didn't want to come out. I was happy asleep. The only reason I'm here is because she wanted to save you. Which gives our first indication that Pyra and Mithra are not the same. They share a body, but they are two distinct personalities. Like,
and even personalities, they're people. They are two different people in the same body.
Exactly.
Personalities. Like, they will have conversations with each other as two different people rather than personalities.
Yeah, later on they'll refer to themselves as sisters.
Yes.
So Rex is like, I don't want anybody else I love to die. Now he's trying to get a handle on Mithra. And we move to, where do we go from?
From Araya, you go to More Ordain.
More Ordain, where Morag and Bridget are from. And this is where Tora really comes into play. Like Tora's like storyline becomes really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And the evil chairman Bana makes his way back into the story.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So upon arrival in Moradane, you run into another artificial blade, and she has committed a crime that Poppy is actually accused of, because how many artificial blades are running around? So from there, Poppy has to, maintain her innocence, and they have to get to the bottom of this. Turns out that a little secondary character that we meet upon arrival at Moradane, this chief scientist, has actually kidnapped Tora's father and forced him to build a horde of artificial blades for an unknown purpose.
And not only did he kidnap Tora's father, he got people to murder Grampy Pon, Tora's grandfather.
Exactly. So they find, the party finds this out. This cannot stand. Mm-hmm. They must bring down, the artificial blade army, which culminates in one of the craziest boss fights ever with
Rosa, right?
Yes, the giant freaking robot. Mm-hmm. So great.
It's like a chibi anime, but it's like very, very big. Not
exactly. And culminates in Poppy having one of the most badass moments in the game, mm-hmm. where Tora and Poppy, who have not been part of the battle up until this point, find their way into the battle and just help you lay waste to this giant artificial blade that's being piloted like a mecha. And it's really great. And just it's like this one thing where, like, if this wasn't in the game still would have been good. It just wouldn't have been as good, because this moment is like, it's like 50% epic, 40% comedy, and just 10% badassery.
And it's also how we introduced to Poppy's new form. So in this cutscene, Poppy goes Super Saiyan cute. Super Saiyan cute maid girl. And that's her new form, is Poppy QT.
Exactly. Yes, she does get her first major upgrade here.
Which is interesting, because normally drivers just wield multiple blades, whereas Poppy will transform between different variations of Poppy, which each variation can also be modified by playing the game Tiger to get modification parts for Poppy. And she's a fully customizable character, which is a lot of fun to play around with if you actually are good at Tiger.
What I love about the character of Poppy is, though, it's like, as the upgrades progress, the sexier the blade gets.
Yeah.
She just gets slightly sexier with each upgrade.
Exactly.
I was like, oh, Lord.
Like, the original Poppy Alpha's like kind of like child-friendly cute. And then... Exactly, yeah. It's like you see QT form. It's like, okay. It's kind of not scandalous, but, I don't know. It's just more mature in a sense. Exactly. I don't know. And then...
there is something that we skipped. We skipped one thing. On the way to fighting giant evil robot artificial blade, we are introduced to a character named Zeke. The Zeke.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Wait, they basically Team Rocket him.
That was way back in Orion, wasn't it? That was actually way back in Orion.
Yeah, we skipped that. So you've had two encounters with him at this point. But he's during your first encounters with Zeke, he's basically treated like Team Rocket from the Pokemon anime. Yeah. Blasting off again. Bing.
Well, see, it's not even that. He does it to himself.
Exactly. Yeah, he is very, not incompetent, but he's so severely unlucky that bad stuff just keeps happening to him.
And it's also funny, because he has a very high luck stat. And which also is just... His luck stat's very high, and I like how he has very high luck. It's just bad luck. Luck doesn't define if it's good or bad luck. It's just luck. And
but the character he's a riot. He really is.
Like Turner's is the best mascot he could ever pick. I love it.
Yeah, this stupid little like alien turtle titan thing? Oh god.
Well, no. He has a little turtle that just is Turtles.
Yeah.
That is
But it has,
representation
this,
of his
extraordinarily long.
tail or something. Yeah, it's not quite a turtle.
It's so weird. It kind of reminds me of Captain Ginyu, like after he became a frog. Like visually, it reminded me of that. But yeah,
and that sort of provides his nickname that Nia gives him from then on is Shellhead.
Shellhead, yes. All right. At this point, Nia is still not a redeemable character, by the way.
No, she never redeemed herself for me.
You see, never. She did for me, but it was so late in the game.
And that's sort of what killed it. That's left. She couldn't redeem herself from me because even when she did redeem herself, it's like it's so late. It's just no point at all in this. No matter what, because everything's just like you've missed so many chances on everything, All right, you couldn't come back. No, she never got better for me. But so Zeke's encounters.
Yeah, so his first encounter, in I guess Uriah.
Mm-hmm.
He basically unleashes a move so powerful that it destroys the ground around him
and sends him down the cliff.
Exactly, just goes straight down. The second encounter is in Morordain, and what does he cause, like a rock avalanche the second time?
Yeah, well, it's just a giant boulder that comes down on him.
Yeah. Like
Indiana Jones style.
And then they're just running for their lives.
Yeah.
Him and Pandoria.
Mm-hmm.
This is just so funny though. Like he's literally there. He is literally introduced as a Team Rocket style villain.
Yeah, just pure comedic relief. And it's like at that point, I'd seen some spoilers. Like the next party member is Zeke. I'm like, there's no way. This is my next party member. They're not gonna do this to me.
Yeah.
How do you?
Yeah. So from here, from this point of the game, Rex is invited to speak to the Praetor at Indal.
Well, no. We just finished Rosa's dialogue, right? We didn't get to Lotharia yet, or not Rosa's boss.
You're invited to Indal, but you have to go. To go to Indal, you must.
Well, we're not even there yet. We're still in just post Rosa. So, Bana tries to escape after the Rosa boss fight, and then there's two more members of Torna. Remember? And they try and sort of save Bana and try and put up a fight, and then Morag busts in.
Oh, you're right. Mikhail and Patroka.
Yes, I believe that's their names. Ow.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Okay. I'm remembering now. Yeah. So that was a pretty epic thing where, where you realize that Pyra and Mithra have certain limitations.
Mm-hmm.
Mithra is not very useful
in closed spaces.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Because she's
too powerful, and her light-based attacks ring from the sky, etc.
Yeah, she needs open space.
Mm-hmm.
Without
open space above ground.
Without it, yeah, you need to be accessing Pyra as long as you're indoors or anywhere that you don't have access to light. So, yes, and okay, so Banner tries to escape. You're right. Patroka and Mikhail show up. They start some stuff. Pyra switches to Mithra, or Mithra switches back to Pyra.
They do some strategic switching.
Exactly. And then... Yeah, they basically formulate a plan that requires them to
switch between with Morag busting into then sort of hold them back while they could get them in a position for Mithra to come out and obliterate their core crystals.
But I believe before she has a chance to really do anything, the battle is actually interrupted.
But no, isn't that after? It's Fawn, right? And Fawn comes in. Yes, is that what her name at that point is, right? Or is it different?
Fawn Lenore, right?
Lenore, yes, Fawn Lenore. She's after the core crystals went out, I thought, but maybe not.
No, I thought I could have swore that she actually interrupted before Pyra got a chance to use.
No, their core crystals definitely got activated. Then one of them, the girl, went like crazy with the red power. And then Fawn the Norn stops the red power. Then they retreat because they weren't going to stop if the core crystals got obliterated. They were just more angry.
Yes, you're right. You're correct. So she comes in. She interrupts. Patroka and Mikhail seem to recognize her to an extent.
Yes.
And they decide that this battle isn't worth, completing. But they do leave with
And Bono gets away.
Exactly, but they leave with like a fleet of artificial blades. They don't leave empty-handed. They leave and they have a boatload, a literal flying Titan boatload.
Well, it's not a Titan boatload. Isn't that the what's the one? It's not powered by a Titan. I forget the name of it. But it's that black one. The big, you see it everywhere. It's
Dark Aster.
Probably, I don't remember. But it's not powered by Titans, which is why it's such a marvel, I believe.
I remember, man.
It's just been so long at this point.
Yeah, there's so many little details. It just gets really like lost in
Yeah.
Trying to explain the story after like a month away from it. It's
right.
A little difficult.
It is.
All right, but they get away on their big, giant Titanless ship with all these artificial blades.
Yes.
We don't know what their plan is for them, but there is a plan. From there, the character Fawn Lenore, she tells Rex and the team that
he's been summoned by the Praetor.
By the Praetor, who we've seen in a previous cutscene, but not really seen this. We've only seen them from behind.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it was the cutscenes where we saw the man who went to Elysium and found the 2 core crystals, I believe, correct? For the Aegises?
No, they just show him wearing the white coat. You see him standing from behind, and he's like looking up at like this giant like wall carving of the World Tree.
Oh, I thought that was after.
No, it's right before, and then it's right before you see. It's at the start of this chapter that you see it.
Okay.
But we don't get any other information about him until. So from there, we are sent to. We're summoned to Indal, but the only way to get to Indal is from Lotharia, which is where Rex is from. So you get this nice chance to go back to Rex's hometown. There's a lot of little character moments here in Lotharia. One of the best moments in the whole game is where Rex takes Pyra
to his parents'
grave. Yeah, that's just like tug at the heartstrings moment. He's like, I know where he's like, this is Pyra. We're on a journey together. I know you would like her. I was like,
And it's one of those things where it's like, to any person who like doesn't get the sentimentalness, it's just you're talking to no one, and that's what they would think. And so it's one of those things where you have to just realize this connection, this or rather disconnect from Rex and his parents that he has to struggle through and go through with his parental relationship, and seeing not having them to grow as he grows up, not seeing him become an adult with Pyra, his new companion. It's just kind of heartbreaking to Rex that they are not there for this. I don't know.
Yeah, it's truly a tug at the heartstring moments because it's like, imagine, your parents are gone and this is the only form of communication you are going to have with them, and you've met someone who's truly special to you, who will never get a chance to meet them as they were.
Yeah.
But it's just this moment for Rex. It's a nice moment for Rex where he's not like jumping, haphazardly off a cliff into danger. It's just this moment where you realize that, hey, Rex is also a fully, realized character within this world, which I like that a lot.
And there was, for me, an equally more sad, if not, it was equally as sad, if not more, cutscene a little bit afterwards as well with Auntie Corrine, and Pyra.
Yeah, we finally realized who Rex is actually sending the money to, from all his salvaging missions, and that was a great moment where Pyra's like, another one where she says, people would be better off without me. People who get too close to me, they just die. The world would be better off without me. And Auntie Corrine says, Rex, Rex needs you. He'd find his way into trouble regardless of you. So it's better that he is with you.
Well, no, that's not even the part that's so huge about it for me. Is that's not the dialogue. It's the Auntie Corrine tells Pyra of Rex's parents and their backstory, and how he came to Fonset, how they died. And that she says that Rex has lost a lot of people in his lifetime, and if you think you're going to bring more loss to him, which is such like a I don't say that's the right idea. Pirate, it will bring more loss to Rex no matter what, and that's sort of why I think they should be. And then Integrons just sort of swerves and says, "You're wrong," because it's like he needs your strength. You need his strength. You can make it right, I guess, from this and not lose. It was kind of weird, but it's just like you need each other, despite you've both gone through a lot. Rex has gone through a lot, and you need each other's strengths. And that was even more heart tugging because it's like Pyra doubted herself as being strong enough for Rex, strong enough for the world, because she was going to cause a lot of loss, and that that doubt really from Pirate was key. The backstory from Rex was key, just making that just heartstrung cutscene for me.
Right. So after the feels, we it's time to actually head to Indal.
Yes.
From here, Zeke shows up again, and you actually get to battle Zeke this time.
You battled him the other 3 times or 2 times as well.
Well, like legitimately battle him and without some chaotic ending to the battle.
Well, you always depleted his health bar though.
Yes, but like without a cutscene that just indicates his like impending doom.
Goofed, yeah. I mean, he still kind of falls off the bridge.
Yeah, but that's
despite.
That's very much after. Like, all bridges have been like, mended. So yes, at this point, after this battle, Zeke joins the party, and you find out that he's actually the envoy. He's a prince, and he's actually he's a Forsaken prince. He's been cast out of the kingdom, and he's actually working with the Praetor and the Praetorium, and he is the one who is going to be doing all the introductions and whatnot to the Praetor. So from there, we finally go to Indal, and Indal is a very unique Titan, in which it seems like the only civilization within Indal is based around like the Praetorium. So you have your refugees from Gormott and other assorted Titans. You have the people who work for the Praetorium, and I just want to say this is my least favorite part of the game was Indal. There are so many allusions to Catholicism as a whole.
Yeah.
It's like it's like this giant allegory where like the Praetor is like the Pope.
Yeah. It's definitely meant to be a religious sort of capital, I guess, where there's the grand figure.
It's essentially the Vatican.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, I mean, from here we're introduced to the Praetor. He's the guy who basically controls all the blades and how they are distributed, to the world.
And he even controls Malos.
Yes.
And yes, we haven't touched on this yet. Malos isn't a human. He's a blade himself, and not just a blade. He is an Aegis, just as Pyra and Mithra are.
Exactly.
But whereas Mithra is, and Pyra, I guess, are light and good, Malos is darkness and destruction, which is literally portrayed in their elements. Malos is a dark type blade. Mithra is a light blade. And it's...
Exactly. Yeah, so we get the backstory about how
their core crystals were found.
Yeah, he talked about how he had climbed to the world tree. He brought the core crystals down. He resonated with Malos. Malos seemed to have taken on the darker personality traits of the Praetor, and that's something we haven't touched on either. Is that when a blade resonates with a driver, they take on some subconscious pieces of them. For Fawn Lenore, she basically took on the entire form of her driver. She looked exactly like her driver. For Malos, he took the dark inhibitions of the Praetor and became something twisted.
Yes.
So yeah, like there's this slight thing where like the bond between blade and driver is deeper than just as a master weapon relationship. They actually take
gain
on
the traits, physical and social, mental traits, emotional even too.
Exactly. So we've learned about the Praetor. While all this is going down, Jin and Malos have infiltrated this. They found the ruins of an ancient civilization that More Ordained had found previously, and basically there's this giant Titan weapon, and Jin decides that they need to take that over so that they can cause havoc, which basically sparks a war between
More Ordained and
Uriah. So
because More Ordained was in control of that, and then when Jin and Malos took the ancient weapon, they sort of fired it against Uriah, which okay. Do you think it's not Jin and Malos? That's clearly More Ordained, and they just opened fire with us with a massive weapon. We can't take that stand down.
You broke the peace treaty.
Which it wasn't even them. But, yeah. And we might even say that despite there being a peace treaty, More Ordained and Uriah, we've kind of been preparing for war this whole time as well.
Exactly, yeah. There are hints of it throughout the course of the game. Like, you see More Ordained is actually recruiting anybody with driver capabilities.
To join the military for the war.
They're just trying to fill their ranks up. Which you actually come back to that. One of the characters that you see resonate with a blade actually shows up in
in side quests. Yeah, he has a lot of interesting side quests.
Yeah, the one with his father.
Yeah. When how it tied into his father was really crazy. Yeah, and that location was used again, right? Or no?
No, but I do.
Or similar location. Or
I think he shows up in Indal too, if I'm not mistaken. That guy could be.
Indal, he might. I'm not sure though.
But you throughout the course of the game, you've noticed that these two civilizations have been building their armies, preparing for war against one another, because this peace treaty is like paper thin. It's legitimately paper thin. At any point, these two societies can go at war with one another, and this was the catalyst. This is what brings out the forces. But Rex, Pyra, and the gang, they decide that this is wrong. Nobody from More Ordained has fired that weapon, and Morag makes it a huge point to accost another general, saying, "You were told not to activate this. You were told to cease operations." And he is like, "I was doing what was best for my people." And that was a really heavy moment for Morag. Not only is it calls into it's like one of those moments where her power is called into question, and her thought process, like, what are you doing hanging out with these guys? You should be, defending the kingdom. Like I am. And she's like, you were told not to. You were given a direct order from the king, who turns out to be Morag's little brother. So she has to participate because this is directly affecting her kingdom. Zeke wants to come because he's essentially an envoy of the Praetorium, and Rex just wants to do right. So him, Naya, and Tora, they all
and Morag, yes.
And Morag. What is the name of this Titan?
I'm forgetting as well. It had an interesting name though. I liked the name of it. Temperantia?
Temperantia, yeah. But some of the best music in the game is here,
definitely.
by the way.
And I'm not sure if it's before or after, but there's a meeting where the Aegis, Mithra, Pyra, Zeke and the leaders of More Ordained and Uriah talk about what happened. Was that before?
Yes,
or after?
that is after. That's after that. So they go to Temperantia, and they are fighting the Judicium Titan, which is the large weaponized Titan.
And it's also worth mentioning that's where we didn't even touch on with Cole, but Cole is a type of blade that we would refer to as a flesh eater, which is half human, half blade, which was meant to sort of create immortality, experiment during the war.
Yeah, it's a blade that essentially eats a human heart to extend its life. So really
which
morbid.
Also creates it into a monster that sort of dies. Cole is going to die sooner than any other Blade. It doesn't even no warrants because like Cole is dying, and no other Blade is gonna really die. It's just that they're gonna be reborn. Cole just dies. It's worse, if anything. I mean, he keeps his memories, but he's gonna die permanently.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. So during this fight with the Judicium Titan, Jin basically finds he escapes, and Fan Lenore makes herself ever so useful, and she basically plops you down onto the Judicium Titan, and this was one of the easiest boss fights in the whole game. But,
it was, for me, it was super easy, but I couldn't lower the health bar, and so I'm like, wait, what am I was attacking the wrong thing.
Exactly.
I was attacking the monster, not the thing behind it.
Exactly, the cables.
Yeah, and that kind of screwed me up for a little while. It was super easy though. Even like no matter how much I attacked, I was like just attacking the monster itself for like way too long. I'm like, I'm doing something wrong because I couldn't. But I never really died. It just went on for a very long time. I don't know.
Exactly. Okay, so after you destroy the beast, Jin comes out, and this is where we get this interesting moment where Pyra is like, why would you join up with Malos? You fought alongside Adam. You fought alongside me. Why have you taken up with Malos? And Jin's reply is he basically says, your fault. You're the reason why. And he basically tells he basically shows off that he himself is a flesh eater in this moment.
And it's also, we got touched on his sort of backstory of being the strongest man in Torna. Jin is the strongest man in Torna. Torna is a dead civilization. And so then he also talks about how, Blades sort of go on to be reincarnated with no memories, and what a struggle that is to be reborn with no memories of your previous whatever. And that relates back to Fan Lenore's identity as well.
Exactly. After all this is said and done,
this monologuing,
yes, he goes on to kill
Fan Lenore,
and like real death, like to steal a line from what's that new show on Netflix, Altered Carbon. He real deaths Fan Lenore by destroying her core crystal.
And not even that. She can't even turn back into her core crystal after that. When a blade normally dies or their driver dies, they just plop into core crystals again. That doesn't happen. She's just a human carcass, human corpse. It's a dead body.
Exactly. And it turns out during her funeral, Mithra seems to know why. And she points out that all of Fan Lenore's core crystal it's not in one piece.
Yes.
Like, it is missing a piece of her core crystal.
Yeah.
All right. And then from there, we... where do we go?
But I'd also like to mention that loss of Fan Lenore is a big hit for Rex, because Rex doesn't want to lose people he cares about again. And Fan has just died, so that was another big death for Rex. Not nearly as big as Vandom or someone, but definitely an impactful loss for Rex. Trying to change his way of thinking still.
Yes. And after the funeral, that's that whole council scene where we see like how the politics work within these societies that you were speaking about, where Mithra, the king of Moradane, and the queen of Uriah are all having to sit down to explain what's happening with the Praetor as like a mediator, so to speak.
Yes.
And I guess Banna makes his return here in an assassination attempt, and he wants to assassinate all these world leaders who have come together, only for him to be stopped. But he's not stopped before he kills the king of Moradane. Mia tells Dromar to distract everybody.
Well, she resurrects the king.
Exactly, yeah. She brings him back from like true death or whatever.
Yeah.
which nobody calls into question. Really, they kind of just accept it. She's like, hasn't
Except
anyone yet heard of first aid?
Yeah, but then there's also the thing about a Gion, which they kind of questioned that. The only thing they really questioned was that a Gion, the king's blade, went into his core crystal form, which would only really happen if the king had died.
Exactly, and Aegeon will become Morag's blade later on.
Well, I actually never. I won't get into that actually about Aegeon, but anyways.
Did you not resonate him?
I never resonated him. No.
Oh man, he's one of the best blades in the game, especially for Morag.
I never. Yeah, he's still a crystal because I wasn't sure what I wanted to really do with him, so I never really bothered even looking at him. I guess is he only able to resonate with Morag?
Yeah, he's like only with Morag.
I've never even knew that. So I never even took a look at his core crystal.
That's funny. Oh man,
I don't want to know. I don't want to figure out who I want to put him on, and I just never even got around to it. And I didn't even know he can only be Morag. Okay, that changes everything. I'm stupid.
All right. So after this, we are sent to Tantal, the Kingdom of Snow.
Yes, it's also Zeke's homeland.
Exactly. And that Titan is Genbu is the name of the Titan.
Yes.
And
it's similar to Araya, but it's cold-blooded or something. And so that's why it hurts. The ether flow of blood in it is slow, which creates low temperatures.
Which basically means they have no crops. So this is a dying nation. And this is where Adam was said to have gone after, the Great Aegis War. This is where he took home, and that Zeke is supposedly
of his lineage,
blood relative. So we get there. Zeke, brings them to his father, the king. King turns out to be a huge douchebag, captures everybody, throws him in prison, but takes Pyra, tries to kill Pyra.
With the giant laser, mind you. That laser is too. The
gang, the crew, Rex and the crew get free of their prison cell. Thanks to Poppy being an artificial blade, they cannot restrict her ether flow.
And Morag planned this. She planned ahead for that.
Which just shows like what a brilliant tactician Morag is. She's kind of like the Piccolo of the XenoBlade team.
She knows exactly what she's doing of everything, and she never goes too trusting for this king she's never met. She's prepared just in case. She's very observant to know that they would need that specifically. It was shown she just looked at the walls and she's like, okay, yeah, we're gonna need you to store some ether, Poppy. And she knows her stuff, and she's very observant and very smart about it.
Exactly. So from there, after the gang breaks out, they head to go to see the pirate, but we are treated to this cutscene, a flashback cutscene of the king speaking with Zeke, in which he basically reveals that their family is a bloodline of usurpers.
Yes.
They were a bunch of common folk who
sort of just rose to the occasion and said, we're Adam's lineage. Follow us.
Well, yeah, they basically use like the cover of war and the confusion that war leaves behind to basically say, hey, we're the royal bloodline. Follow us. Turns out to be all BS, And Zeke, the guy who has the most to benefit from this lie, rejects it. He's like, no, this is wrong.
That's not how you lead people. Because his nation is dying.
Exactly.
Going back to they don't have crops. They don't have the ability to get food on their own Titan. Yet the government, the king, the whatever, restricts them from leaving, really. And so they aren't allowed to go to other Titans for food.
Which creates a huge black market.
Yes. So all the food that they need to survive is on the black market.
Yeah, and that's really the only thing keeping that society afloat is that black market. And just this brilliant thing where I just love that moment where Zeke rejects his his father, because
he's always rejected him though.
But he rejects the lie. Even though that there's a benefit for him, obviously he's he could be king, he could rule, and ultimately he could change this as king, he could change this world or this nation.
Yeah.
But he rejects that. He's like, no, I'm going with these people because they are who really need me right now.
And also, the hopes of Elysium to save his people on Elysium were more important than just him saving as king.
Exactly. He just rejects his father in this great, brilliant cutscene. His father literally, again, tries to kill Pyra with the laser. The team manages to save her. And is it... Okay.
Genbu pretty much goes self-destruct.
Exactly, yeah. Pretty much after that laser fire...
they have 90 minutes, which I spent like 6 days or longer, taking full advantage of those 90 minutes, just grinding things out.
Exactly. They're like, yeah, you have 90 minutes before this Titan goes so deep that...
It kills itself to air pressure.
Exactly. All the people will... That... Dude, okay. We have to... Later on, I want to talk about how BS that is. Because of this little place called Mortha.
And also, like, the whole game is very story-driven, and it sort of tries to lead you from one cutscene to the next very, very quickly. So it wants to get you through the story as fast as possible. But there's never a sense of urgency. Even when it says you have 90 minutes until we all die, there's no urgency ever, and I don't like that.
Yeah, there's no timer floating above you.
No.
There's no, like,
which is appreciated, because, maybe I don't want to just progress the story, but, like, also, it just feels weird that I could just do grinding, side quests, when, this Tantal nation is gonna die. I don't know.
So, basically, the only way to stop Genbu from falling to its imminent doom is to reestablish the connection between Pandoria, who is XenoBlade, and Genbu, the Titan, because she can't speak to the Titan right now because its brain has been frazzled by shooting off that cannon. Yeah. So they have to go to the bottom of Tantal, Genbu, and reach its core, which is its brain. Oh my god, this was so long to get there. It is so long. Yeah. But once you get to the bottom of it, you set things right. The team is attacked by Akos, Mikhail, Petroka, Jin, and Malos. Everybody from Torna has come to this party. And we have this amazing fight scene where not even using foresight can Rex actually stand up to Jin's light speed. And he has Rex in a position where he's like, I'm going to kill you. This is going to happen. You are going to die. You have lost. This has all been futile. We are taking this girl. Pyra, out of nowhere, takes possession of not Ophion, the other. What is the name of her? Of the other. The mech.
The mech. Not the Aegis treasures, but like they're sort of things the Aegis controlled. There's Ophi on the other one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I know what you're saying now.
The Artifice.
Artifice. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember what the other Artifice is. I'm looking it up because it's gonna bother me if I don't remember its name. Okay. Aeon.
Yeah, Aeon.
All right. So Pyra, who is her artifice is Ophion, which was the cloud serpent that we had seen earlier at the wood tree.
Attacked them when they went into Orion.
Exactly. Pyra takes control of Mithra's artifice, which is Aeon. And that shouldn't be allowed to happen because Pyra has Ophion, Mithra has Aeon, and they control them separately. But she uses like all of her power to control Aeon and say, I will kill myself if you don't leave them alone. I will 100% kill myself and you won't have me, and whatever you're planning cannot come to pass. Malos takes this threat seriously, and so does Jin, and they said fine. So they don't kill Rex in the party. They just take Pyra with them, and they go. Rex faints. awakens like 5 days later at the hotel.
Yeah.
They're told what happens. Rex becomes like super doom and gloom, like emo. I couldn't save her. I couldn't save her. It's on my fault. I'm not strong enough. And it's this whole thing where everybody takes a shot at Rex in this moment. Like everyone, like Bridget slaps him, Nia punches him, and then you think Poppy's about to bust his ass wide open, and then Poppy, like pulling at the heartstrings. No, Pyra does not want to see Rex hurt. Poppy, and Tora look up to Rex. We are not real drivers. We are not real blades. Blah blah blah. And I'm like, damn it, Poppy, stop it.
Just hit me and be done with it.
So Poppy gets Rex back in order.
Mm-hmm.
The team decides that Rex needs to truly become the Aegis driver.
Mm-hmm.
The Aegis driver. And Gramps decides that he's going to make himself truly useful by saying, like, I have the critical information that you have all been seeking throughout the course of this game, but I haven't said anything up until this point.
Yeah.
What's it called? Ex Machina.
Oh yeah.
Just a little Ex Machina going on there. So they all have to go back to Leftheria, and this is where they explain the beginning of the game.
Mm-hmm.
They go to the pillar of the pillar of Adam.
Yes.
And they it can only be opened by somebody from Leftheria, which is the whole reason why they needed Rex in the first. Exactly. Because Adam had hid Pyro away in one location, but he had hid her true blade away in another. Which takes you down to basically the innards of the archipelago, the Leftherian archipelago. And nobody who has entered this cavern has ever come back out. So there's a real danger here, and once all the characters here, they realize they are weakened. Severely weakened. It is in this moment that we are given Zeke's backstory about how Zeke actually is a blade eater. That he actually has a piece of Pandoria keeping him alive. Similar to how Jin and Cole have pieces of human drivers in their system. So it is basically it's how Rex and Pyra exist, where Rex has...
But it's more of a coexistence than vice versa with them. It's more like they have a bit of each other, whereas, Zeke has a bit of Pandoria, and Cole has a bit of human.
Yeah, they never actually implicitly state who Cole's driver was.
Well, they did. The Praetor. The Praetor is Cole's driver. But
you're right.
It's just weird to think that he is a flesh eater and the Praetor is his driver. The Praetor's got a lot of messed up things. Oh, yeah. He can't even explain himself, I'm sure.
So we get Zeke's backstory about how they were attacked by like marauders and they almost killed Zeke. And Pandoria really had this moment where she freaked out because you can tell that Pandoria is in fact in love with Zeke. It is not uncommon for blades and drivers to have this kind of relationship. And she doesn't want to forget Zeke. She doesn't. She doesn't want to return to her core and forget him. And that's where the Praetor comes back into play. He sees this and he takes pity on Pandoria.
Yeah.
And he infuses a piece of her into Zeke.
Yeah.
We also find out Nia's backstory here.
Yes.
Where we not only find out that Nia is a blade, but she is in fact a flesh-eating blade. She has a piece of her sister.
Yeah.
Or what they call her sister. But her Nia's backstory is complex.
Yeah.
But we find out that Nia is a blade, and not only is she a blade, but she's like the most badass blade in the whole game, and the most useful blade in the whole game. And this is the moment where I found redemption in the character, because I was like, hey, I don't hate you anymore because you are useful, you are moving the story along. And I enjoyed that the fact that we get to see Nia become a more powerful, useful thing in this game other than what she had been. So once you do that, Rex gets the true blade and it dissolves.
Yeah.
And he just decides, hey, we're gonna go save Pyra and Mithra without this. And they go rescue Pyra and Mithra in what is this name of this? So many cities.
Yeah.
So many cities. I was wrong. It's not Aeon, it's Siren.
Oh, shoot.
Okay, the Cliffs of Mortha. That's what we are. That's where we are.
Yes.
Yes, so they go to the Cliffs of Mortha, and we get this cool revelation. You have your first true fight with Malos.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just Malos. Where it's revealed that Malos is a Monado.
Yeah.
Which is like,
Monado.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Which is another nice little tie into the original Xenoblade game.
Mm-hmm.
Which is pretty badass. That fight was difficult for me because I'm stupid. And I accidentally unequipped my entire party. And I was just fighting him as Rex.
Oh.
I didn't even know that was a thing you could do. And I almost won. Oh well. Once I finally figured my life out, put things back in order.
Okay.
But that fight happens, and you think that you've actually kind of killed Malos for a bit, but no. He comes back, and you find out that he's been torturing Pyra and Mithra while they're in like this dreamlike state. He restores his own core crystal because his core crystal was damaged during the Aegis War by Pyra.
Yes.
Restores his
Mithra,
core crystal.
but
by Mithra. And when he does that, he actually takes control of Mithra's Titan, Siren.
Mm-hmm.
And Pyra has a choice. She can either die or she could fight alongside Rex. And Rex is like, I can't do this without you. I need you. And Mithra and Pyra finally decide that they want to be with Rex. They love the world and they want to protect the world.
Mm-hmm.
So we finally see Mithra's true form, which is awesome. The green hair, the awesome costume, the Tron costume is what I like to call it.
And it's just funny to think too, because Mithra is Pyra's true form already. It's sort of like just breaking the limits of power again and again.
Yeah, it's like a Super Saiyan God.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, totally. So you have this power cap that's established. She is the Aegis. There's nothing more powerful than her. And Malos, they are the two equals of power. Well, no, Malos is a Monado. He's going to go woo of power. But then true form Mithra, boom, also just blows the cap out of the water.
Exactly. And honestly, epic fight scene culminates in them destroying the battlefield that they're on and falling into Mortha beneath the Cloud Sea. And it turns out that Mortha is like the ancient ruins of like our civilization, like our real world civilization, the world that you and I currently live in.
Yeah, it's
just like real, and it's like, what the hell is happening here?
Yeah, I don't understand either.
I
mean, to an extent, it could have if they treated a bit tied into X a bit more, but I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, so we're in Mortha. Jin has been severely damaged with during the fight between Mithra, Super Mithra, and Rex. But they decide that they're gonna save him while he's being attacked by this weird semi-blade looking thing.
Yeah.
And the whole party is separated. But it is here that we find out that Rex is now the Aegis driver, so he has control over any blade that his party has resonated with. So you go on your quest to find everybody in the party, fight a couple awesome unique beasts, make your way to get everybody back together, and make your way to the base of the world tree.
Yes.
This is where things get weird, man. So they get to the bottom of the world tree, and the inside of the tree is mechanical.
Yeah.
So
it's not like any tree I've ever seen grow naturally from the earth.
Exactly. So they decide to Pyra or Mithra finds an elevator within the tree. You gradually progress up the tree. You get to about the midpoint. At the midpoint of the tree, all out war is happening because the Praetor has taken control of the Titan Indal and has taken it to the World Tree, and the members of Torna are also there trying to get to the World Tree. So what I love about this game is that everybody is going to the World Tree. They're all trying to get to Elysium to meet the architect, the creator of this world. They all have different reasons.
Yes.
So the Praetor wants to meet his creator and kind of destroy his creator. Yeah. Malos wants to meet his creator and destroy his creator. Pyra and them want to meet their creator and ask questions.
Yeah.
Now, you have two groups that have the same goal, but because of the ideals that each of these groups has, they can't join forces because the Praetor is trying to fundamentally establish his religion, essentially, as the driving force, as the cause. Like, we're going to destroy the world, but it has to be the church that does it. And Torna, like, we're going to destroy the world, but it has to be done by Blaze because humans are corrupt. And, Rex and the gang, they literally just want to save the world.
Yeah.
From these two opposing groups who each have a common goal but cannot work together because of ideology. Yeah. That is just brilliant storytelling. That is what really made me appreciate this, because here in the middle of the World Tree, you see these two groups with clashing ideals coming to all-out war, and the Praetor has taken control of numerous Titans. He brings out more Ordain. He brings out Gembu. He brings out Indal, and they are all attacking the Torna ship, which turns out to be a Gundam Transformer, and starts literally going like hand-to-hand combat against the Titan when he's like starts beating the crap out of the Indal Titan. I was like, oh my god, I don't even know what's happening anymore, but I love it.
Yeah.
Rex and them are like, we have to get to the top. We have to stop all of this. They go to the top. They go back. They get back on track. They start going to the top. They finally get to Elysium and it is not what was promised.
No,
it is a wasteland. The coolest thing about it, though, is that the top of the World Tree is outer space.
Yeah.
They're legitimately in outer space.
Yeah.
At the top of the World Tree. And I'm like, oh, this game doesn't even make sense anymore.
No.
But yeah, they find Elysium, and it is a wasteland. They start scouring the wasteland, trying to find any signs of hope. And at this point, you can tell Rex has been broken by this.
Yeah.
Like,
it was supposed to be a salvation for him and everyone in the world, of these dying titans, of the starving people. It was a promise that was meant to be saving the world. You can't save the world if everything that you thought you had of hope and fertile soil and whatnot is all dead. It's all wasteland.
So this fundamentally breaks Rex, but he doesn't quite give up. But like you could tell he's not in it anymore. They find their way to a church, and they enter the church. They find like a secret passage that under the church, and once under the church, things get really weird. Rex is separated from the party and has to battle all of his friends. Yeah. They've like all turned on him, and they're like, "This is your fault. It's like we all believed in you, and you led us to nothing." So Rex must fight his way through the party. Once he does so, he ends up, the last trial he has is he's back in Leftheria in his hometown. with Pyra and Mithra.
Mm-hmm.
But their personalities have swapped.
Yeah.
And this is it. This is the final straw. Rex can't take it anymore. He just breaks down. He starts crying. He's like, "What have I done wrong?" And he's just broken. Mm-hmm. And out of nowhere, Pyra goes, "Father, I think that's enough." Turns out this was all a simulation that showed all of the members' true inner feelings. Mm-hmm. Like, it's like the darkest parts of them, their fear. Mm-hmm. And they are shown this by the architect, who is the same voice actor as Shulk, by the way.
Yeah.
About that. Just a little tidbit there. Same voice actor Shulk, which I'm like, oh, you can't get away with this. But from here we find out what the architect is and who he is and what he has done. Which leads us to the point where we have to start making connections between this game and XenoBlade Chronicles.
Mm-hmm.
So, all of XenoBlade Chronicles leads up to finding out who Zansa really is. Zansa is the big bad.
Yeah.
He essentially is the embodiment of Makanis, the type of Makanis in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Zansa is a god.
Yeah.
But we find out about what is his true name. I shouldn't forget his real name.
Same.
This is why we keep our notes open. The architect. And this is why we have editing. Klaus.
All right, cool.
Klaus. All right. So the architect starts telling his backstory.
Mm-hmm.
And the architect was originally a scientist named Klaus.
Mm-hmm.
In the top of the world tree, in outer space, what we've established is Elysium. Elysium is that. The world tree is actually under attack by a group that we're never really told who is who. And they have a defense mechanism in place that they need to activate. And the only person that can activate it is Klaus, but he is doing something else. Klaus has found a way to kind of create a new universe.
Mm-hmm.
Or so he thinks. And he's like, only God had this power. Now mankind is one step closer to being gods. Activates this power.
Mm-hmm.
Creates this new universe. But in doing so, destroys the old one.
Yeah.
Killing, well, not really killing, but killing a good number of people and sending a lot of people away, including half of himself.
Mm-hmm.
So they get sent away to a new universe. That new universe is actually the universe of Xenoblade 1.
Yeah.
And the half of him that is gone is Zansa. Well, is what will become Zansa.
Yeah.
And the half of him that remained is what we know as the architect.
Mm-hmm.
So he starts explaining that I created, in my grief, I created this universe to correct the mistakes. Blades essentially are a byproduct of that, and humans are all evolved from blades, and it's so confusing, but it's essentially like he's created this new universe because he wants to fix the mistakes that he's made.
Mm-hmm.
But he himself is dying.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows that his other half is dying as well. Mm-hmm. And he knows that once his other half dies, he will die. His other half being Sansa. And he explains this. Pyra thanks, Rex thanks the architect for creating them. And they go off to go stop Mallows. And I love this part because in this moment we hear Shulk's voice saying, "Today we will take down a god." And I'm like, holy fuck! Holy fuck! Because this whole game, there have only been little connections. And right here, the whole shit is blown out of the water. This is a true sequel to Xenoblade 1. They are not only is it a sequel, but they are happening parallel to it.
Yeah, at the same time.
Exactly. So when the shit is hitting the fan for Shulk, the shit is hitting
the fan for Rex.
Like, they are parallel, simultaneously happening. The Architect's death will happen at the exact same moment.
That Zanza.
That is fuckery. But I call fuckery on Nintendo because I'm like, you lied. You said there were no connections. This is BS. I went into this wholeheartedly. If I had remembered, I would have replayed Xenoblade 1. And now I have to go back and be like, what is different here? Then there are some differences between the backstory that Klaus tells and the backstory that Zanza would reflect on. And I have a theory about this. And I just want to briefly touch on this. The story that Klaus tells, or the architect tells, the planet, the world tree is under attack by an unknown force. But the story that Sansa tells, there is no such attack taking place when he creates this new universe. Also, when Sansa is telling the story, there is no, he tells us, only God, I'm literally going to do this. He said, only God could create planets or create a universe. Now man is one step closer to God. But when the architect tells a story, it's more sinister. Only God could create a universe, but now man is one step closer to God. There's a sense of arrogance when the architect tells the story versus when Zanza tells the story. And my theory is that because the architect is remorseful over the destruction of the universe, he's telling a more accurate version of what went into creating these two parallel universes. Whereas Zanza, he's the evil embodiment of Klaus, and he doesn't feel that same remorse. So when he tells a story, it wasn't about arrogance. It was literally just about, I'm creating a universe. And it's just as minor detail, or it just could be that they just wanted to change it up. But in my head canon, that's why the stories are even though the cutscenes are almost identical, they're slightly different.
And one thing that's been bugging me is X in this whole thing. And I almost have to wonder if we see at the base of the cliffs, at the very bottom of those cliffs, is our current civilization. Could that be planet Mira from X, or maybe Earth that was destroyed in the beginning of X? And that's what's been bugging me, because clearly they're all connected. And there's the Nopon, there's all this stuff, and it's gotta be. But it's also, X is just the weird outlier still.
See, in my brain, in my headcanon, X is the universe that Shulk creates once he becomes the new god.
Okay.
That's how I kind of see it, and I know they have to leave the world that Shulk created, but he created a universe. It's his universe.
Yeah, all right.
So they're moving to a different part of his... I don't know. It's
all right.
There needs to be a better way to connect X into the...
Yeah, I mean, Xenoblade 3 or Xenoblade X2, and then I don't know.
All right. So finally, we move into this whole battle with Malos and Rex, where Malos has taken control of Aeon, which is the biggest artifice of them all.
Yes,
and it's a great fight scene. He sends out all these other mechs or artifices at you, and you kind of destroy them. That's not a hard boss fight, but
no,
it's pretty satisfying.
Yeah,
at that moment,
it's almost similar to Kid Icarus Uprising. Those final bosses where it's not that hard. The first half is kind of hard, and then you get the weapon. It's just you blast him. It's all you had to do is blast him. Hades. It's all you had to do was that, but it feels so satisfying after all that build up and all this badassery that Pit has acquired. So it's very reminiscent of that to me.
Yeah,
but it just feels good, even though it's super easy.
Exactly. So after Malos has defeated Klaus, the architect, Sansa, they all die simultaneously because they're all one and the same. And the world tree starts coming down, and it's going to destroy everything. It's going to destroy the planet if they don't do something about it. So Pyra tells them that there's a way to stop it, but they have to go down. So they believe Pyra. They all go down. Turns out Pyra's lying. She actually sent them to like the shuttle bay so that they could escape. But before they do that, she actually stops Poppy and tells Poppy. She whispers something to Poppy. When they get to the shuttle bay, Pyra destroys the bridge and stands on the opposite side. Rex wants to go save her. His hook shot isn't long enough. He asks Poppy to fly him over. Poppy says she can't because she promised Pyra that she wouldn't because Pyra doesn't want Rex to die, there. And nobody wants Pyra to die, but they don't have a choice. She has to stay there and destroy the World Tree from within. Which this emotional scene where like Zeke shows that like he's a real OG dude. He's like, this is the woman you love. Respect her choices. You have to do this for her. It sucks, but this is what being a grown up is all about. Rex is heartbroken, but eventually realizes that the right thing to do is get on a plane with his friends and leaves. Mithra takes control of the plane and sends them out of the World Tree. They go back down towards the Earth. Upon re-entry, the damn shuttle blows up, and everybody's falling to their death. But Gramps, because I can't say his name, Gramps decides that it's time to revert back to his true giant form and flies everybody. But before the World Tree collapses, Klaus says something along the lines of, "There's one last thing I can do." Right? So as they're floating back, on Acerta's back, they start to notice that all the Titans are gathering into the water and forming a giant landmass. And that Elysium was there all along. It was Elysium is essentially the reformations of the Titans back into the landmass. We have this moment where like the gang is like happy that they finally made it to Elysium. It was here all along. But Rex is still kind of pinched with the pain that Pyra and Mithra had to die in order for this to happen. He's holding on to his fraction of the core crystal that was once keeping, him alive, and he has it there, and it starts to glow. Then Pyra and Mithra come back down, and they're all with their group again, and that's it. We have a happy ending where none of the primary characters in the party had to die. I love this game, man. I really do.
It is. It's great, mind-blowing ending, just like the first, but even more so because they tied it in and just out of nowhere. But it's you're right. The reflection you do afterwards is, it's very real, and it's.
Well,
the
for
only.
me, for me, I was gonna say that the reflection came upon the realization that Klaus, or that the architect and Zansa
are the same.
Or one of the same. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's where my reflection really that's where the reflection happened for me, because I'm like, these two parallel universes were, so basically when Shulk takes control of the Monado, that's in that exact moment Rex
has awakened Pyra.
Exactly, he's resonated with Pyra. He's become her driver. Like, you realize that these two stories have been moving at the exact same pace.
Yeah.
Everything that Rex then then you start to notice the similarities between Rex and Shulk a lot more. Where Rex has the foresight, or I'm sorry, Shulk has the foresight. Rex also has it, but to a lesser extent. But Rex probably has the more powerful blade of the two of them.
Yeah.
And you start to see their parallels, and it's really, really good, and it's a lot of reflection. And after all that reflection, I was thinking to myself, I was like, which game do I like better? Ultimately, it comes down to I thought Xenoblade Chronicles 2 had the. I actually enjoyed the story more in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 because of the way it ties those two games together.
And I think I would have to agree on that. Although, at the end of the day, I still think the best game was X. And they are all phenomenal. But X is just so fun to play. It had gameplay down. The only things that grinding was a lot worse in X, and I wish kind of to an extent that X had a similar layout to the combat as 2 had, because 2 really streamlined a lot of the combat.
Yeah, and I think XenoBlade Chronicles 2 has some great combat.
Yeah, it does. All of the games have great combat.
It really builds on X's combat. But graphically, this is one of the most beautiful games on the Switch. It's I think the only game that I would rate higher than this graphically is Odyssey. But not all the time. Like, there are parts of Xenoblade Chronicles 2 that look better than Odyssey. But again, I spent a lot of time reflecting after I beat this game. It like got me, man. I'm like, damn, man, like that, the way they made those 2 games connect, like the fact that Zanza and the architect are one of the same, like that wasn't something I was expecting. I wasn't like, especially because Nintendo told us that, like, don't expect anything. Like, you might see some subtle things like no pawns exist, and that's it. That's the real only connection.
And when they announced 2, I'm like, all right, I sort of had an idea that it might be something similar to what they actually did end up doing, and Nintendo sort of said, no, they're completely different, just like X was. Okay, sure. And because I don't know. I'm kind of glad that they sort of threw that red herring, though, at least for my sake, because I'm the guy who somehow always guesses the ending, and I would have totally guessed it had they not told me it wasn't how it ended. Pretty much, they weren't connected. So I'm the guy who always figures it out.
Well, normally when I play a game like this, like a sequel, I kind of like to go back and revisit the first.
Halfway through my playthrough, I rebought 3D on 3DS.
Yeah. And I'm like, I would have gone back and replayed this game on the Wii because, I just would have enjoyed. First off, I would have enjoyed playing it again. I mean, I've played that game since it first came out on the Wii. But it is a game that kind of sticks with you.
Definitely, yes.
Just like this one does. It'll stick with you. Like, you'll think about it for a while afterwards. But it would have been nice because I would have liked to have a refresher course on that cutscene where, like, the cutscenes where Zanza is explaining.
I'm sure you could find someone who's put them side by side on YouTube.
Well, I did. I found it on YouTube. I watched, and that's how I was able to really tell the difference between like the version of the
arrogant version and the
And I was like, like I said, it could have been just the developers saying, or Microsoft saying, basically, hey, we want to just differentiate them a little bit, just fiddle around with it. But in my head canon, I see that as you're hearing the same story, but from the perspective of an evil side and a somewhat benevolent side. Benevolent side. There we go. I got it eventually. Like, you're hearing like the 2 different versions of it from these 2, very differing personalities.
Yeah.
And I thought that to me is like where the brilliance is. It's like, it could be an unintentional consequence, but in my mind, it's 100% intentional. That was the goal. They wanted people to take notice of that. Now, that's the problem. If somebody hasn't played Xenoblade 1, they are missing out on it.
And it's worth mentioning that a lot of the Xenoblade games don't, I don't want to say sell well, because they are very popular, good games, but they release at very, very bad times and thusly suffer in terms of sales. And even if it's not a bad time for the console itself isn't a good console, where in the Wii U's case, X is phenomenal, but no one played Xenoblade Chronicles X because it's on the Wii U. No one had a Wii U. Exactly. And that was the really big drawback from that. And so it's like, you have Xenoblade Chronicles, which released on the end of the Wii's life cycle when no one wanted a Wii anymore. You have X, which released on the Wii U. And then you have the entire, like, Xenosaga games, Xenogear, from the previous, before it was like a Nintendo thing, were all released at very poor times still, and that's why they're also unknown. A lot more people know Xenoblade than Xenogear, but that's only because those games were released at very weird, poor times as well. This is the only time where a Xenoblade game has been released in a time when people are paying attention to the console.
Oh, exactly. Well, and it doesn't hurt that this is like the console is like forcing people to buy it. Like we discussed it earlier, 14.8 8 million units sold.
Yeah.
Damn near, best console, perfect console to release it on, and it came out at the right time too. It's like at the tail end of the year where all the other big games have been played already. It's just perfect timing.
Yeah.
But I thoroughly enjoyed it. But man, let's start wrapping things up. What are your final thoughts on XenoBlade Chronicles 2?
Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry. It was an experience. After playing 1 and playing X, I knew I was in for something grand. In terms of the actual environments, I thought they were probably smaller than X. Definitely X, and from the first one, I thought the environments were all kind of smaller, which was kind of disappointing. But the story was definitely a great build on the first, how it tied in these multiple universes. Zahn saw it in the Architect, as you said, that sort of whole, whoa, they're parallel going at the same time, are super cool. And it's a great game. I know a lot of people are missing out on it still, just because they're not JRPG fans, which is sad, but if it's not your thing, it's not your thing. But they are beautiful games. And a lot of people, I think you're right, are going to miss out on that sort of connection too, for it being just... it ties in so well with the first. You can't not... You lose something when you don't play the first, definitely. But it's... The gameplay-wise, you'll more than make up for it. It's a fantastic RPG that you can just have an RPG experience with as well.
Yeah. For me, I said it when we started this conversation. There are not a whole lot of games that I've played in my life that have made me truly reflect on the story and the characters the way I have with this game. I've played a lot of great games in 2017. Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, ARMS. None of them had none of them came close to being as story driven and as moving as XenoBlade Chronicles 2 has been for me.
I mean, the Xenoblade not X series has been very story based, and they've had great stories out of the two. And so I knew I was getting a grand, awesome story when I went into it, and I was very pleased with what I got.
It's true. But all right, guys, we've gone on super long.
Yeah,
and we've
deep dive.
We
only covered the entire plot from beginning to end.
Exactly. I mean, but we got to say our piece. I mean,
yeah, because there's a lot to just talk about the story. A lot of thoughts.
So much stuff that we truly just glossed over. We glossed, for a spoiler cast, we glossed over a lot, and that's because other than the biggest connection in the game, I there was no way we were getting around not spoiling that. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was so good. But I'm glad to have beaten that game. I'm glad to have participated in this deep dive. And like I said, we are going to be working on another scripted series, one that really explores Xenoblade a lot more thoroughly than what we've done here. Today was mostly about just talking about our initial thoughts, how we felt about the game,
and the story. Yes.
Yeah. So you guys should be looking forward to some really awesome scripted stuff from us, like Wild Odyssey. And if you haven't seen Wild Odyssey, make sure you guys watch that, because we all worked really hard on that series to bring it to life, and it's so very good. 5 episodes down, we only got 1 more to go, so you guys should be expecting that pretty soon this week. Okay. As for me, you can hit me up on Twitter at nice1983, and you can email me at nice1983@gmail.com. Blues, any social media links you want to throw out there?
Yes. You can follow me on Twitter, which is at TheKingBlues on Twitter, and I will be posting my stream schedules when I'm about to stream on Twitter as well. We're streaming on my own channel, Dragon Quest Builders. And on this channel, once it comes out, we'll be streaming Bayonetta 1, and we're going to be going through the entire series. So after that, we're going to eventually get to Bayonetta 2, then 3, whenever 3 comes out. And you can follow the Twitch page for me at twitch.tv/TheKingBlues. But other than that, I think that's my media links. I finally have them. They're set up. We've started streaming officially for Dragon Quest Builders, which is super cool. I'm having a lot of fun. And Bayonetta comes out this Friday, I believe, and I'm stoked. I'm absolutely stoked. I played the first and most of the second on the Wii U, and I'm glad to revisit these.
Yeah, they're going to be fun games to go ahead and get a chance to replay, and especially with the portable aspect. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it from us. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you so much for watching. We're back. We promise the vacation is over. We're not gonna be gone this long again. So you look forward to seeing us very soon. Don't forget to watch Wild Odyssey. Deuces.